He is a distinguished young master from the capital, while she is a 21-year-old medical doctor. Their paths first crossed in the university campus, where they shared a bond akin to childhood sweethearts. As fate would have it, a tempestuous turn of events left them as strangers. He presumed she had wed another, and thus she became a thorn in his heart. Upon their reunion, he had taken another as his bride, while she remained alone. The man once inquired, Your heart is truly unyielding. Have you never considered returning to see me? The girl wept to her friend. He is the man I loved with my life. Xiao Jinghua never uttered the words I love you, yet he willingly gambled a decade of his career with the words, I suppose I have fallen into your hands. Many years later, Nan Yi would become the youngest female academician, standing proudly beside her beloved. Chapter 1. I am not a good person. In March 2013, in Beichuan, the weather was a capricious mix of warmth and chill, particularly under the overcast sky where clouds hung heavy, amplifying the cold's desolation. In the morning, Nan Yi sat in the neurosurgery outpatient department, donned in a white coat, attending to patients who had made morning appointments. A nearby intern, Huang Can, diligently typed patient notes into the computer. Occasionally, she would respectfully inquire, Master, is this cerebral aneurysm congenital? Nan Yi glanced at the x-ray in her hands and replied nonchalantly, Yes, slight rupture and bleeding. Please proceed with a blood and urine test, followed by a cerebral angiography. Huang Can, an intern from the hospital, was a few years older than Nan Yi, her weary eyes revealing a severe lack of sleep beneath her blue medical mask. Despite her disheveled hair, she remained attentively alert to Nan Yi's instructions. This marked the second year of Nan Yi's tenure as an attending physician, and she was now capable of mentoring students. As a patient exited the consultation room with a payment slip, the next patient was summoned by the intern. The moment the door swung open, Nan Yi heard a sweet, melodic female voice call out, Dong Dong Go, I'm here. That voice struck her like a thunderclap, leaving her momentarily stunned until the seated patient asked, Doctor, what is wrong with me? Regaining her composure, Nan Yi inquired about the patient's symptoms and ordered several routine tests. She initially thought she had imagined the voice, but her moment of distraction was magnified by the arrival of the next patient. Huang Can called out, Jai, is the patient here? A deep, resonant male voice responded, Jai, it's your turn. That voice was achingly familiar, resonating through the 4 years they had spent together, whispering sweet nothings in the night. However, today his tone was cold, like a piece of ice yet to melt by the shore. Years ago, on a sunny autumn day, she had sat in the Tsinghua University auditorium, listening to Xiao Jinghua speak as the student representative. His voice, vibrant and charismatic, carried the energy of a television host. Let us congratulate Tsinghua University and Peking Union Medical College on their collaboration to forge new chapters in medicine. In that moment, Nan Yi felt as if her mind were reeling from a traumatic brain injury, an overwhelming dizziness washing over her, as the solitude within her spread like ink. One could easily assume that time would fade all memories, yet some things are etched into the very marrow of one's being, remaining pristine despite the passage of years. As two young adults entered the room, Nan Yi realized her hands were trembling, clutching the medical record. She quickly laid it flat on the table, inhaling deeply, and offered a composed smile to the pair. It was then she truly beheld the stranger she had not seen in years. The moment Xiao Jinghua laid eyes on her, his stride faltered for an instant. The girl beside him linked her arm through his. Dong Dong Go. Come in. Jai sat obediently across from Nan Yi, softly stating, Doctor, hello, I would like to know why I've been experiencing frequent headaches. Nan Yi took a deep breath and, maintaining her focus, inquired about Jai's condition, her grip tightening around the innocent medical record. Is it merely dizziness? Any other symptoms? Jai scrutinized Nan Yi, and it must be said, she rivaled any actress in beauty, with a fair oval face, almond-shaped eyes, delicately arched brows, and gold-rimmed glasses. She exuded the poise and resilience of an educated woman. Her tall and slender figure made her white coat appear ample, and at 25, she was indeed a rare gem among doctors. Jai replied in a delicate tone, Sometimes my eyes feel swollen and painful. I think there's something at the back of my neck. Nan Yi instructed her to turn around and gently examine the indicated area. Let's do a CT scan for further diagnosis. Jai appeared concerned. Doctor, is there a problem? Nan Yi's gaze remained fixed on Jai, acutely aware that the man had stepped outside to take a call just moments after entering, and she felt a wave of tension wash over her. Do not worry excessively. First, let's conduct the examination and then we can determine the cause based on the results, she reassured her. Yet, the young lady inexplicably asked, Doctor, do you have a boyfriend? Nan Yi regarded the captivating Jai with curiosity, completely perplexed by her inquiry. Realizing her rudeness, Jai stood politely and hurried out to find the man who had left the room prematurely. From outside, Jai's voice could be heard. Dong Dong Go. I need to go for a scan. Please wait for me. There was no response from Xiao Jinghua, and Nan Yi gazed vacantly towards the door, feeling hollow after the tension had subsided. She surmised that the couple would not return that morning, as the CT scans at the hospital would take until the afternoon for processing, allowing her to swap shifts with her. In this life, it would be best to avoid seeing them, especially in this manner. After all, he was now married. She had thought she would not encounter Xiao Jinghua and his wife again before the end of her shift, yet unexpectedly, Shun Jiai returned just as she was about to leave, handing the CT scans to Nan Yi at her desk. Nan Yi chuckled inwardly, assuming Xiao Jinghua was the type who would wait for hours for a scan. Xiao Jinghua did not enter the consultation room, which brought Nan Yi a modicum of relief. She placed the scans under the viewer and pointed them out to Shun Jiai. See this area? It appears to be a suspected neuroma, with a diameter exceeding 3 centimeters. She indicated another part of the scan. However, it is currently unclear if it is adhering to the spinal cord. Please arrange for an MRI this afternoon. Shun Jiai suddenly looked frightened. Is it that serious? Nan Yi replied in clinical terms. If it is a simple neuroma, it is not a major issue, but given its size, surgical removal is advisable to prevent future nerve compression. The young woman timidly called out to the door, Dong Dong go. The doctor says I need surgery. At that moment, Nanny could no longer avoid facing Xiao Jinghua. He stepped inside, and as she caught a glimpse of his face, she dared not look again. Lowering her gaze to the man's black overcoat. 3 years had passed, and he remained unchanged, his features identical to her memories, strikingly handsome, yet now his brow bore a chill. Nan Yi's heart raced. A cool breeze like peppermint surged in her throat, filling her mind. Clearing her throat, she explained to Xiao Jinghua, we have not yet determined a treatment plan. Further examinations are necessary, and I must ask you to return this afternoon for the MRI. Xiao Jinghua's voice was flat, reminiscent of a husky tone after a drink. Thank you, doctor. Xiao Jinghua gently assisted Shun Jiai into her chair, and she naturally draped her arm around his. The two of them walked out of the consultation room, deeply entwined in affection. It was once this enchanting voice that had struck the heart of Nani during a gathering in the Bing. After she and Xiao Jinghua became a couple, she often pondered the cruelty of fate that conspired to bestow both a captivating face and a melodious voice upon a single individual. At that time, she resembled a little girl, spoiled and willful, clinging to his neck and coaxing him into uttering nonsensical sweet nothings that he willingly indulged her, holding her close and whispering tenderly. Those were the days she later dared not reminisce about, for they were too blissful, and she feared that her current self could not endure such joy. After Xiao Jinghua departed, Nani remained rooted in place until Huang Qingqing called out to her, Little master, it's time. Aren't we off work? Nani awoke from her reverie, exclaiming, Off work, let's eat. Outside the Xia building, the crowd surged incessantly, and the sky darkened ominously, heralding an impending downpour. This impending storm mirrored the turmoil within the hearts of Xiao Jinghua and Zheng Nani. The darkness and sudden rain obscured visibility, as if standing at the edge of an abyss. She was acutely aware that Xiao Jinghua harbored resentment towards her. His indifference was merely punishment. He understood precisely how to pierce her heart with sharp words. In the past, he had genuinely tried. This proud and arrogant man was willing to compromise his dignity for her sake, yet she had chosen the path of betrayal and decisively severed ties with him. He had not wielded a knife to stab her heart, to see what color the blood there would be. He had already shown remarkable restraint. Xiao Jinghua escorted Shun Jiai into a white Alpha. Leaning against the open car door, he casually inquired, Why not book an appointment with a specialist? Beaming, Shun Jiai replied, The specialist appointments are all booked until next month. In truth, she felt guilty. Had she merely asked, Xiao Jinghua could have easily procured an appointment. Xiao Jinghua did not pursue the matter further. As he prepared to close the car door, Shun Jiai gazed at him intently and playfully asked, Aren't you coming with me? With a frown of irritation, yet a calm tone, he responded, Let Xiao Gang take you for a bite to eat. I've asked Yang Kai to pick me up. There are matters to attend to at the company. She peered into his eyes, which were as profound as the ocean, and tentatively asked, Will you accompany me for my checkup this afternoon? Xiao Jinghua hesitated, letting out a resigned sigh. We'll see how it goes. I'll call you. As he pressed the button for the automatic door of the white business vehicle, Shun Jiai's eyes sparkled with a hint of schadenfreude. In the outpatient hall on the first floor, Zheng Nani heard someone shout, Zheng Nani. She quickened her pace, feigning ignorance, but the person caught her by the arm, their voice laced with anger. Why are you running? Without needing to look up, she recognized the intruder. Her hands were clenched tightly in her pockets, her nails digging into her flesh. Taking a deep breath, she raised her gaze to Xiao Jinghua. If Mr. Xiao wishes to discuss your partner's medical condition, it would be best to wait until the MRI results are in. We can analyze them during work hours. The Xiao Jinghua's gaze darkened, his brows knitted together as he smirked lightly. Doesn't Dr. Zhang and I have some past to reminisce about? She feigned calmness, smirking as she replied, Mr. Xiao, your status hardly suits a rendezvous with an old flame. Xiao Jinghua narrowed his eyes, his demeanor turning icy, and bitter words slipped from his lips. True, with Wan Xinqing in the picture, I am nothing. Nani's resilient spirit flared up immediately. She straightened her back, her lips curling into a taunting smile. Xiao Jinghua, you're already married. Why pretend to be so noble? In an instant, anger surged within Xiao Jinghua, flooding his thoughts. As he gazed at the defiant, frigid girl before him, He suddenly seized the back of her head and leaned in, a chilling kiss crashing upon her lips like a tempest, filled with both passion and rage. In the outpatient hall, crowds swirled like water, countless eyes turned towards them, including those of fellow medical professionals. Nani was initially taken aback, feeling her blood surge with fervor. She struggled to push him away, but he held her tightly, a blend of anger and humiliation clouding her reason. She lifted her foot to kick him, but his grip only tightened. In a moment of desperation, she bit his lip, the taste of blood flooding their mouths as Xiao Jinghua finally released her. She forcefully shoved him away, only to find Xiao Jinghua's eyes ablaze with fury. His hoarse voice, like a ghost's whisper, echoed, "I am no saint. There is no need for pretenses. Do not provoke me." Chapter 2 The Inescapable Surgery. Nan-yi glared at him fiercely when a voice from behind interrupted her. "Little girl, aren't you going to eat?" Turning her head, she recognized her senior sister, Zhao Jing, from the neurosurgery department. She managed a forced smile. "Sister, wait for me. Let's go together." Gritting her teeth, Nani tried to appear casual. "Mr. Xiao has had his fun, but I must leave now. We are working people, after all, and need to get back to the grind this afternoon." With that, she abandoned Xiao Jinghua and hurried off with Zhao Jing toward the hospital cafeteria. Zhao Jing cast a glance back at Xiao Jinghua and whispered, "I saw everything. What happened?" She could hardly believe that Nani, who didn't even have a boyfriend, would engage in such a public display of affection. Nani forced a smile, just a mad dog biting. Xiao Jinghua only saw her hurried escape, vanishing beyond the glass revolving doors of the outpatient building. 3 years had passed, yet the anxiety felt like yesterday. His resolute departure had left him heartbroken. Despite living in the same city, they had never crossed paths, and fate, as it turned out, was difficult to articulate. He had assumed that Nan-yi would quickly marry Wan Xinchen after leaving him, only to receive an invitation from the Wan family a year ago, revealing that the bride was someone else entirely. He thought he had loathed the stone-hearted woman for life. But the moment he stepped into the consultation room and saw her in that long white coat, her slender figure appearing even more gaunt, his heart sank with unease, prompting him to excuse himself for a phone call. In the bustling hall, the air was thick with noise. As dark clouds loomed over Beichuan, fine rain began to fall. The spring rain chilling to the bone. He returned to his black Range Rover, where the driver, Yang Kai, caught a glimpse of his boss's grim expression in the rearview mirror, noticing his swollen lips, and cautiously inquired, "There's a meeting at 2 with the subsidiary." Xiao Jinghua clenched his teeth, striving to regain his composure. "The afternoon meeting is postponed. All urgent matters will be delivered to the CHUN tonight." During the afternoon at work, he arranged for a special delivery for Xinjiai, as the MRI at Xia Hospital was already scheduled 10 days out, and no results would be available that day anyway, alleviating Nani's concerns. In the outpatient examination room, several young nurses engaged in gossip. The man accompanying the family member for the MRI today is the executive director of Xinhua Group. Xinhua Group is now among the top enterprises in the country. Of course, it's a state-owned enterprise, under the central government. He must be taking his wife for treatment. He treats her with such respect. What a gentleman. That's what marriage looks like. Handsome, wealthy, and well-mannered. But only if you have a comparable background. Stop dreaming of Cinderella marrying into wealth. The girls laughed and envied one another. After overhearing their discussions, Nani couldn't help but sigh, finding solace in the notion that at least he was now living a life of marital bliss, supporting one another. Before the end of the workday, her mentor, the head of the neurosurgery department, contacted her about an internal dinner at Xia that evening, asking her to accompany him. Nani was puzzled, as the director rarely took her to social events unless it involved a funding company, but since her teacher had asked, she felt compelled to agree. By evening, the rain had ceased, and the air was infused with a sharp chill that invigorated her senses. The dinner was set at Beichuan Hotel, just a kilometer from Xia Hospital. She walked there, deliberately taking a detour along Chang'an Street to avoid passing the Yihao courtyard, not wanting to stir up old memories after just seeing Xiao Jinghua. Inside the private room of Tan Huashuan, the heads of departments from Xia gathered, the chief of neurosurgery, the chief of cardiology, the party secretary, and the discipline secretary. Nani felt overwhelmed at the assembly of such prominent figures, wondering what significant event warranted her presence and why they had invited a mere attending physician. Upon her arrival, Director Li greeted her warmly, introducing her to the leaders. "This is our department's youngest key physician, Jing Nani." The hospital director and party secretary, Chen Zhangwo, smiled kindly. "Young people have bright futures. She is quite renowned. We have all heard of her, the youngest doctoral student." Li Jing felt a sense of pride hearing his student praised, positioning Nan-yi beside the esteemed general manager Gao. Although the table was filled with dishes, the guests hesitated to begin eating, seemingly waiting for someone. When the door to the private room opened, everyone stood up, and Gao greeted with a smile, "Mr. Xiao, we've all been waiting for you." Nani was taken aback to see Xiao Jinghua enter, accompanied by Yang Kai. He waved his hand dismissively. "I've briefed Gowling. No need to wait for me. A meeting ran a bit late. Please, everyone, have a seat." Director Chen politely insisted, "We are not in a hurry. It's a rare occasion for Mr. Xiao to join us. It turned out this banquet was a collaboration between Zhenhua Pharmaceutical and Xia Hospital's neurosurgery. A special seat was left for Xiao Jinghua, who scanned the room and approached Gowling. You sit there. Gowling was momentarily confused, fearing he had misunderstood his superior's intent, and dared not move. Yang Kai prompted from behind, Mr. Gao, the chairman wants you to take that seat. Nervously, Gowling switched places, while Xiao Jinghua nonchalantly sat beside Nani. During the banquet, the two sides discussed the potential collaboration between Zhenhua Pharmaceutical and Xia Hospital's leading neurosurgery. This meeting did not require Xiao Jinghua's presence, as it could have been handled by a subsidiary leader. However, he sought any excuse to meet that heartless woman. As 2 bottles of 30-year-old Moutai were poured into a white liquor jug, the ancient wine glimmered with a unique yellowish hue from years gone by. When a waiter approached Nani to pour her a drink, Xiao Jinghua interjected, she doesn't drink. The table fell silent, but each guest, seasoned in the ways of the world, quickly resumed their conversations. Nani lowered her head, feeling hollow inside. He certainly knew her tolerance was merely 2 bottles of beer. As the alcohol flowed, Li Jing casually asked, Mr. Xiao, do you know Nani? Xiao Jinghua replied flatly, my wife may need Dr. Jing for surgery. We are still in the diagnostic phase. Li Jing appeared enlightened. I see. You can rest assured, Nani may look young, but her skills in neurosurgery are top-notch. She has only been an attending physician for a year and already achieved the highest number of surgeries performed in that time, both in skill and perseverance. Director Chen chuckled. Li Jing, it's rare to hear you praise a student. Xiao Jinghua smiled lightly. I have great confidence in Dr. Jing's abilities. Nani could only manage a professional smile, feeling a mix of irony and desolation at the mention of wife from Xiao Jinghua. The meal tasted like cardboard, devoid of flavor. Noticing the distracted demeanor of the woman beside him, Xiao Jinghua felt an inexplicable irritation rising within him. As the gathering had not yet reached its conclusion, he stood and said, the group has other matters. I must take my leave. Gowling, please take care of Director Chen. Gowling immediately stood to acknowledge. And Nani thought this farce was finally coming to an end, only to hear Xiao Jinghua turn to her and say, Dr. Jing, why don't you come along? I have some questions regarding Jia's condition. Li Jing quickly agreed. Nani, you should go with Mr. Xiao. It's perfect for him to give you a ride. Nani was taken aback, unable to refuse, and could only steel herself as she exited the Beichuan Hotel alongside Xiao Jinghua. Upon stepping out of the hotel, she spotted his conspicuous Land Rover. It wasn't that the vehicle was particularly unique. It was merely the license plate number 79999 that she would remember for the rest of her life, as she still used the phone number ending in 9999. Determined to walk past his car and leave alone, she was abruptly halted by Xiao Jinghua's grip. Unable to contain her frustration any longer, she glared at him. Xiao Jinghua, what are you doing? Xiao Jinghua, with an unlit cigarette clamped between his lips, cast a sidelong glance at her. His long black trench coat billowed in the night wind. And despite the mockery etched upon his features, it did not diminish the regal quality of his handsome face bathed in the moonlight. He held the cigarette in his hand, crushed it, and discarded it, yet he found it impossible to rid himself of the person standing before him. Fixing his gaze upon her, he furrowed his brow and inquired, what has happened to you? You look as thin as a monkey. Nan Yi looked at him, a torrent of emotions flooding her heart, but she could only suppress her feelings. Xiaojia, I must return. He always sought some justification, both for her and for himself. For how could he reconcile the hatred within him? Wherever you go, I will accompany you. Nan Yi offered a bitter smile, recognizing that they were no longer companions on the same journey. Let it be. We are on different paths and must part ways. At that moment, Xiao Jinghua felt a sudden pang in his heart as the crushed cigarette lay scattered on the ground, reminiscent of their fragmented past. As long as you wish. There is always a way. Nan Yi's heart ached, unable to endure any longer. Xiaojia, you are married now. Do you not care about the resentment of the past? Xiao Jinghua narrowed his eyes at her, feeling as though a bucket of cold water had been thrown over him. Fatigue washing over him. You truly have an uncanny ability to see things clearly at all times. Nan Yi smiled insincerely. Those who recognize the times are the true sages. Xiao Jinghua regarded her with a piercing gaze. Nan Yi, we will have our chances to meet again. Nan Yi felt a surge of defiance. Is that so? I can cancel the surgery. I hardly believe we will have any opportunity to see each other again. Xiao Jinghua scoffed with disdain. Then try it, and see if you can cancel. With that, he turned and entered his car, while Nan Yi watched the black vehicle roar away. Tears welling in her eyes, but never falling. Chapter 3. I hope you fare poorly. Xiao Jinghua slouched in the back seat, extracting a cigarette to light. The car window slid down, the night wind rushing in, chilling him to the bone. Yang Kai observed his inscrutable expression, silent for a while until Xiao Jinghua finally spoke. Nan Yi is now the attending physician. Yang Kai attempted to decipher his boss's emotions from his tone, but found no ripples of feeling. He responded in agreement. Indeed. Xiao Jinhua's hand holding the cigarette paused, prompting Yang Kai to quickly amend. Dr. Zheng is indeed a remarkable talent. Yang Kai recalled his first encounter with Zheng Nan Yi, standing beneath the dormitory of the doctoral students at Xia Medical University, initially believing that Xiao Gui had acquired a new girlfriend. a medical graduate student, likely around 26 or 27 years of age. Yet, the girl who emerged from the dormitory was merely a young lady with an oval face, almond-shaped eyes, and gracefully arched brows, tall and beautiful, yet appearing no older than a high school student. That year, Zheng Nanyi was 19. In her 6th year of continuous doctoral studies, a legend within the medical school. Cao Jinghua, at 25, had graduated from Tsinghua University and was establishing a small company on Financial Street, still in the early stages of his entrepreneurial journey. It was a time when Xiao Shouzhang was still alive, marking the zenith of the Shaojia family and their most profound love. Cao Jinghua's gaze drifted past Yang Kai, aimlessly staring into the distance as he murmured, "You should not have stopped me back then." Yang Kai felt a cold sweat trickle down his back. Recalling the image of Zheng Nanyi standing protectively in front of Luan Xinxing, a moment witnessed by all, akin to a tragic play, fortunate not to end in tragedy. People believed Zhao Dog had married and that the past was but a chapter closed, yet only those who remained by Allah's side, like Yang Kai, knew that he had never truly let go. The more he smoked, the more ferocious his habit became, his days filled with the monotony of work. Unwilling to afford himself a moment's respite, he refrained from mentioning that person, and his few friends were equally reticent. When Yang Kai witnessed Cao Jinghua's meeting with Dr. Zheng outside Xia Hospital, he realized this matter was far from over. The next day, Nanyi returned to work, conducting her routine ward rounds. Her senior in the neurosurgery department was Zhao Jing, aged 31, an attending physician in functional neurosurgery. Last year, Director Li had assigned both Nanyi and Zhao Jing 2 interns from outside hospitals, vibrant and lively. Another intern, Huang Can, directly from their institution, was rather oblivious, having accompanied Nanyi to the outpatient department the previous day, diligently organizing case files. Recently, Nanyi had taken on a particularly unique patient. After the morning rounds, Zhao Jing approached her and spread herself across the office chair. The patient in bed 3 has been admitted but is still hesitating. Nanyi did not lift her head, swiftly reviewing all the medical records and surgical arrangements for the day. That case requires no deliberation. It's a grade 1 meningioma, substantial in size. This patient has delayed treatment for at least 5 years and has already missed the optimal window for intervention. Even so, it must be excised, although benign. It continues to grow. Zhao Jing waved her hand dismissively, exasperated. You must convey that to the patient's family. Once they hear it's benign, they refuse to proceed with the surgery. Nanyi raised her eyes to meet Zhao Jing's gaze, acknowledging the typical patient psychology. Firstly, they fear postoperative sequelae. Secondly, they worry about future expenses. However, it is imperative to clarify the disadvantages of not treating the condition. As doctors, we must communicate effectively. There is a saying that although the Buddhist path is vast, it is difficult to reach those lacking connection. If they truly cannot comprehend, we are powerless. Zhao Jing laughed at her. You were not like this when you first started. Back then, you were all about saving lives, full of righteous fervor. Hearing this, Nanyi's back stiffened momentarily, and she could not help but recall the Wenchuan earthquake of 2008, when she was part of the 3rd team to enter Pingwu County in Mianyang. It was a rare experience in life, the disaster zone as brutal as a battlefield, with communication infrastructure severed. At that time, she and Zhao Dinghua had been together for over a year, often unable to see each other for half a month due to work and study commitments, with text messages and phone calls serving as their only means of connection. Both still in the haze of their first love, filled with joy at the thought of one another. Xiao Jinghua initially had no idea about Nanyi's medical aid assignment until he heard that she was part of the support team sent to Sichuan. In that moment, Xiao Jinghua was genuinely anxious, as he was at a bottleneck in his entrepreneurial journey, abandoning everything to find her in Pingwu County. At that time, the disaster zone was devoid of water, electricity, or signal, and transportation was obstructed, with the post-quake weather characterized by relentless rain. When they finally met, the once pristine girl had become disheveled. It was during that time, in a makeshift tent, that Xiao Jinghua and Nanyi shared a bed, her laughter ringing out as she playfully asked, Xiao Jinghua, don't you have a cleanliness obsession? Xiao Jinghua ruffled her hair, teasingly responding, yes, you really ought to take a shower. You have quite the odor. Nanyi pouted, pushing him away, only to be pulled tighter into his embrace. The two of them, in that temporary tent, shared a simple bed, which constituted their entire world. Zhao Jing nudged the dazed Nanyi. What's wrong? Why are you in tears over a simple comment? Nanyi smiled wryly. Oh, go away. I'm off to prepare for surgery. Behind her, Zhao Jing called out. Little girl, since you joined after me, your surgical tally has already surpassed mine. Be careful not to overwork yourself. She waved her hand dismissively without concern. In the evening, after concluding surgery, while Nanyi was at the hand-washing station, she heard Yang Chao say, I heard we have a VIP patient today, a relative of a political figure, who specifically requested you for the operation. Little Nanyi, you've made it big. People are already seeking you out. Nanyi paused her actions and laughed at Yang Chao. Senior brother, this surgery is too simple. Can you handle it for me? Yang Chao retorted. What a wonderful opportunity. You can interact with influential people, and you still complain. Nanyi grinned. Senior brother, We earn our keep based on our skills, with a scalpel in hand. We seek no favors from anyone. Yang Chao laughed and scolded. Right. 10 years from now, you'll be the head of neurosurgery, and others will be begging you. The two shared laughter as they exited the operating room. Before reaching the neurosurgery floor, Nan-yi received a call from Li Jing. Nan-yi, come to my office. Nani harbored an ominous premonition as she sorrowfully made her way to the changing room to switch her attire. Upon entering the director's office, she was taken aback to find Xiao Jinghua leisurely sipping tea on the sofa. Observing him seated with poise, his long legs elegantly crossed. Clad in a crisp gray suit and an immaculate white shirt, he merely lifted his gaze upon her entrance, remaining still. Li Jing, his face brimming with smiles that dispelled his usual stern demeanor, thought to herself that this was indeed a legendary figure from the Department of Neurosurgery. A once-admired idol from her days in the ivory tower, now inevitably entangled in the mundane affairs of mingling with the elite. Standing at a distance from the sofa, before the desk, she cheerfully remarked, "Teacher, you summoned me." Xiao Jinghua noticed her avoidance, but remained unperturbed. Director Li introduced her, saying, "This is Xiao Dong of Jinhua Group. You met yesterday. His spouse has just undergone a procedure under your care, and Xiao Dong has entrusted you with ensuring its success. Nani, you must not bring disgrace to our department." With that, he chuckled and patted her shoulder. Nani stood there, a multitude of thoughts racing through her mind, yet unable to find a reasonable excuse to decline, left with only a facade of smiles. Xiao Jinghua approached her, saying nonchalantly, "I must trouble Dr. Zheng to look after my spouse." Upon hearing the term spouse, an inexplicable pang of sorrow surged within her, and she forced a smile, replying, "Rest assured, Xiao Dong, this is the duty of a physician." Xiao Jinghua regarded her, seemingly unaccustomed to her insincere pleasantries, and with a slight smirk, suggested, "In that case, perhaps Dr. Zheng could accompany me, and we might further discuss the surgical details, sparing Director Li the trouble." The situation remained tense, and Nani could not refuse Xiao Jinghua in front of her mentor. Director Li readily concurred. "Nani, do give Xiao Dong a thorough introduction. The surgery is quite straightforward, and he may rest easy knowing our little lady is among the top in her department." After a hollow exchange of pleasantries, Li Jing escorted the two out. In the long corridor of the hospital, the sound of his polished shoes echoed as they walked, a sight they had not shared in 3 years. Once filled with youthful vigor, their paths had taken a sorrowful turn, leaving behind unexpressed depths of emotion and resentment. He felt that she was no longer the vibrant, spirited Zheng Nani he once knew. She sensed he too had changed, no longer the audacious young master from the Fourth Nine City. Nani wished to initiate a conversation to alleviate the awkwardness, but her throat felt constricted, her breath shallow, her heart racing. Suddenly, Xiao Jinghua's deep voice broke the silence, asking, "How have you been in these years?" Nani clenched her fists, a flicker of pain sharpening her clarity. What could she say? Since their parting on December 24th, 2010, Christmas Eve, she had indeed lived a lifeless existence. Fortunately, her profession kept her occupied. She was still a resident, tirelessly attending academic conferences and training sessions, engaging in research, and assisting her mentor in surgeries without missing a single event. Time dulled that pain, but it also stripped her of 11 pounds, leaving her slender as a sheet of paper at 170 centimeters, unsure how to respond. She recalled how she had used Luan Xinxing as a pretext to extinguish any lingering hope between them. She could not bear to remember the day they parted. When the once proud Xiao Jinghua had bent down, softened his posture, and earnestly pleaded, "As long as you don't leave, I will pretend Luan Xinxing never happened." She could not fathom why she had cruelly laughed at that moment, though her heart shattered into 1,000 pieces, tears welling in her eyes, yet refusing to fall. "Xiao Jinghua, you should return and marry well. I have long grown weary of your foul temper. At the very least, Luan Xinxing's family would not look down on me. Being with you only invites disdain." She had shaken off his hand, resolutely severing ties with her youth and the one she loved most. They stood before the elevator. Watching the red numbers flicker, Xiao Jinghua pulled out a cigarette, lit it, and casually remarked, "I hope you have a miserable life." He cast a cold glance at her, his lips curling with derision. Nani felt as though 1,000 arrows pierced her heart, a grim smile forming at the corner of her mouth. "Xiao Dong, given your status, why dwell on such matters? It serves no purpose." Xiao Jinghua regarded her, irritation flickering in his eyes as the elevator dinged open before them. He stepped inside first but turned to find Nani hesitating at the threshold, frowning. She whispered, "Xiao Jinghua, I will do my utmost with the surgery. Let us not meet again." The doors of the elevator closed moments later, leaving behind Xiao Jinghua's forlorn expression and the half-spoken words that would never escape his lips, whether her misfortunes would bring her back to him. The following day, Shen Jiai duly checked into the VIP ward. Nani conducted her routine preoperative consultation and, upon reaching the door, overheard Shen Jiai's bright voice. "Xiao Jinghua, can you be a bit more dramatic? Are you perhaps incapable in that department, showing no interest in women?" The suite consisted of a sitting area outside and a patient room within, and the couple sat on the sofa, their conversation audible through the door. Nani's hand awkwardly hovered over the doorknob, her shadow visible through the small window on the door. Shen Jiai suddenly rose to affectionately embrace Xiao Jinghua's neck, playfully calling, "Dong Dong Gidge, why don't you just come home?" Xiao Jinghua appeared momentarily taken aback, grasping her wrists and pulling her back to the sofa, saying coolly, "What is all this commotion? Is the group busy? You might ask your brother." Nani quietly retreated, no longer hearing their exchange, feeling inexplicably stifled. Wishing to discard this burning hot potato, upon noticing Nani's shadow vanish, a sly smile crept across Shen Jiai's face. Xiao Jinghua coldly inquired, "What are you laughing at?" Shen Jiai replied cryptically, "I laugh because some people are about to have a headache." Xiao Jinghua's heart sank. He turned around, but saw nothing, and stood to leave, saying, "I've sent someone to bring Mrs. Xiao over. Someone will look after you, so I will take my leave." He truly wished to avoid Nani witnessing such a scene. Shen Jiai, however, seemed unfazed, declaring, "Xiao Jinghua, you should get yourself a girlfriend. I don't mind." Xiao Jinghua snapped back, "You're insane," and hurriedly exited the hospital. Shen Jiai's surgery was scheduled for the day after tomorrow, but she was restless and sneaked out to indulge in revelry that night. It was Nani's turn to work the night shift. Around 9, as she was engrossed in her thesis, a text message arrived. "Come to Hongfang immediately." Chen Qinghua was Xiao Jinghua's childhood friend from the compound, and since their breakup, this circle had completely vanished from her life. This number had not rung in ages, and after a moment's hesitation, she decided to return the call. The other end was filled with a cacophony of voices and the sound of shattering objects. Chen Qinghua's voice, distant as if from another world, exclaimed, "Hua Zi is in trouble. You need to come quickly." Nani replied flatly, "I'm on night duty and cannot leave. For emergencies, please call 110 or 120. Chen Qinghua, not willing to press further, abruptly hung up. Nani set down her phone. Feeling hollow, the paper in her hands transformed into indecipherable symbols, unable to concentrate. She changed her clothes, informed a colleague, and ultimately stepped out of the inpatient department. On a March night, with the biting wind swirling around her, she finally hailed a cab and headed straight to Sanlitun Hongfang. As she alighted from the taxi, she spotted an ambulance with flashing red lights parked at the entrance, a bloodied girl being carried out. She glanced over and saw the girl's face obscured by blood, rendering her features unrecognizable, her arm dangling limply. As she stepped through the entrance of Hongfang, there was no thunderous music, only the flickering of colorful lights. The ground was littered with shards of glass. Each step she took produced a cacophony of crunching sounds that sent shivers down her spine. A man clad in black, upon noticing her arrival, ushered her into a private room. Inside, 3 men were engrossed in a card game, with Wang Chengyan at the center, dressed casually. A cigarette dangling from his lips, squinting as he scrutinized his cards, exuding an air of roguishness. When he noticed her entering, he merely glanced her way and remarked, "Oh, the university student has arrived." His demeanor was inherently unwelcoming, and his words dripped with contempt, yet he continued to toss his cards without interruption. Chen Qinghua remained as effusive as ever, warmly greeting Nan Yi as if they had just met the day before. "Huazi has had a bit too much to drink. We're looking to change venues, so we'll leave him in your hands." The casual reference to Huazi startled her. That nickname was known only to Xiao Jinghua and his childhood friends, a fact buried in the past. Xiao Jinghua reclined on the sofa, his eyes tightly shut, one hand propped against his forehead, exuding an air of military discipline even in his intoxication. His long legs were crossed atop the golden table before him, and it was evident that he was inebriated. However, there were no visible signs of injury, prompting Nan Yi to furrow her brows and inquire, "Didn't you say you were hurt? Where is your injury?" She had some inkling that few dared to confront these men in the city of Sijiacheng. Taking a seat beside Xiao Jinghua, he lazily opened his eyes, glancing at her through half-lidded lids. A drunken chuckle escaped him. Devoid of the sharpness he typically possessed during the day, his voice, tinged with the warmth of alcohol, teased, "You really don't wish me well, do you?" Nanny huffed through her nose. "As the on-call doctor, I cannot abandon my post. Why are you all still behaving like children?" He turned his head, fully awakening this time, his eyes dark and profound. He retrieved a cigarette case from his pocket, the purple filter perched between his lips as he ignited it, the smoke curling around him. With a playful smile directed at the other 4 men in the room, he quipped, "Who invited her? Which blind fool brought Dr. Zheng here?" Chen Qinghua lowered his head, offering an awkward laugh, yet saying nothing. Observing his exaggerated demeanor, Nan Yi decided to leave, only to be pulled back by him. Xiao Jinghua's tone softened, "Don't go, stay with me." Those words seemed to deflate Nan Yi, her previously straightened back, now slumping. She felt as if seeing Xiao Jinghua again was akin to a drowning person who feared they might not take another breath, submerged in an endless abyss. Struggling to maintain her composure, she grasped his arm, insisting, "Get up, I'll take you home." Just then, Wang Chengyan abruptly tossed his cards aside, coldly declaring, "We're leaving. No more games, let's go eat." Confused, Xiao Jinghua protested, "What are you talking about? I was just getting into it." Wang Chengyan paid him no mind, striding over the glass table and exiting the room. The other 2 men exchanged glances with Nan Yi and Xiao Jinghua, saying nothing further as they followed suit. At that moment, Nanny noticed a uniformed manager standing in the room, bowing slightly. while Wang Chengyan and his companions ignored him. She overheard him instructing a younger man. "Get this fellow out of here." A man in black seized the manager by the shoulder, dragging him out of the room like a chick, the door closing behind them, leaving only Nan Yi and Xiao Jinghua alone together. The sudden solitude made Nan Yi uneasy, and she cleared her throat, adopting a formal tone. "Director Xiao, you are not one to indulge in alcohol." Unexpectedly, Xiao Jinghua grasped the back of her neck, forcefully kissing her, capturing her lips with his. She tried to push him away, but his arms encircled her, leaving her with no escape. The kiss carried an icy punishment, devoid of tenderness, mingling the sharp scent of alcohol with the familiar aroma of sandalwood emanating from him, stimulating Nan Yi's senses. Memories surged like water through her mind, and tears streamed from the corners of her eyes. Though she was in his embrace, her body felt rigid, cold, even trembling, no longer the same as before. He eventually calmed himself and released her, only to catch sight of a tear glistening on her flushed cheek. Anger flared within him. Yet he could not suppress the layers of longing that clouded his rationality. Annoyed, he stood up, swaying slightly, and Nan Yi instinctively grasped him, fearing he might truly fall. Xiao Jinghua turned his head to her. "Why did you come?" His question implied that if he were indifferent, there would be no reason for her presence. Nan Yi took a deep breath, struggling to suppress her quivering voice. "Chen Jinghua said you were in trouble. We are always better than outsiders." Xiao Jinghua smiled sadly, donning his coat as he prepared to leave. Nan Yi, concerned, queried, "Are you all right? Do you need to go to the hospital?" He lit another cigarette, responding, "I'm not drunk. I wouldn't dare to be." Chapter 31. The pinnacle of coldness in Beichuan. Every season is accompanied by gusts of eerie winds that rise suddenly, turning the sky a murky brown and blurring the boundaries between heaven and earth. The following morning, Xiao Jinghua was making business calls in his room while Nan Yi wandered leisurely down to the dining area, where she unexpectedly encountered the 6-month pregnant Wen Xian. Her figure was now plump, the pregnancy evident, yet her complexion radiated a vibrant glow, betraying no signs of fatigue. Upon seeing Nan Yi, she waved enthusiastically. Wen Xian bore a resemblance to Shu Tong, having studied at Nandu University rather than Beichuan, and although both pursued art, she specialized in sculpture. Her gentleness was infused with resilience, embodying the serene joys of life. As soon as she sat down, she teasingly remarked, "So, you and Jinghua are back together." Nanny felt a blush creeping up, unknowingly sipping her milk, I suppose. Seizing the rare moment of privacy, Wen Xian pressed on, among Chun Sheng's circle of friends. "Jinghua is the most devoted, we all see it." The chef had prepared a special dish of grilled tuna for the expectant Wen Xian, while Nanyi's plate was adorned with a golden omelet paired with cooked foie gras. After a moment's contemplation, she ventured to ask, "Did Xiao Jinghua and Xin Jiayi part amicably?" Wen Xian tilted her head, observing Nanyi's hesitant expression, and couldn't suppress a chuckle. "You don't think they were a real couple, do you?" Nanny frowned, bewildered. Is there such a thing as a fake marriage? Wen Xian dabbed her lips with a white napkin, adjusting her position nonchalantly. "It is said that 1,000 years of cultivation allows one to share a boat, and 100 years of cultivation allows one to share a pillow. They may have been together, but their emotional bond has certainly lasted 100 years. Nanny furrowed her brow, finding the sentiment oddly unsettling. She murmured, "Oh." When Xian could no longer contain her laughter, "I was just teasing you, don't be upset." She continued earnestly, "They do not share a substantive marital relationship. Once, Shinjai was quite inebriated at a bar. I happened to be leaving with some friends when I saw her in such a state and feared for her safety, so I escorted her home." When Xian suddenly leaned closer, whispering, "That day, she must have just broken up with someone," babbling incoherently. "When Chun Sheng came to pick me up, she wouldn't stop talking in the car, claiming Jinghua had never touched her. After berating her ex-boyfriend, she scolded Xiao Jinghua for not being a man, insinuating he had some unspeakable issues. Then she praised him, saying although he was incapable, he was very reliable." Nanny felt as if she were listening to a riveting tale, nearly choking on her milk, erupting into a fit of coughs. When Xian quickly offered her a tissue. "Are you all right?" Nanny, wide-eyed with disbelief, shot her an incredulous look. When Xian confidently asserted, "I wouldn't fabricate such a story. If it weren't for what the person involved said, I wouldn't have believed it. However, over the years, I've heard Chen Sheng mention that he rarely returns to the villa. When you two parted ways, he was genuinely heartbroken. We all thought that if he could move on to marry, it meant he had let go of you, until I learned about Xinjiai. That was when Chen Sheng and I realized he had never truly moved on." Man Yi silently reveled in her own satisfaction, yet a wave of melancholy followed. She had never truly comprehended the depth of Xiao Jinghua's affection for her. In her youthful days, at just over 20, she was willing to bare her heart and soul, to sacrifice herself for love. She believed that Xiao Jinghua would never possess such courage. Countless times in the solitude of sleepless nights, tears dampened her pillow as she quietly pondered the notion that love might not exist in this world, merely fragments of memories accumulating within the hearts of lovers. All those in love had likely endured divergences, quarrels, misunderstandings, and indifference, gradually eroding the fervor that once burned in their hearts. Perhaps, many years later, Every predecessor would look back upon their genuine feelings of youth with a tinge of regret, lamenting their own naivety. Wishing for a chance to return and hoping for a convergence of disparate paths, Nanyi grinned at Wen Xian, saying, "Please don't tell him that I know about these matters." Since he was reluctant to speak, there was no need to impose her own sentiments upon him. Wen Xian playfully replied, "Of course, he is a person who values his pride." This time, Nanyi's smile was open and unreserved, radiating warmth. "Wen Xian, let us celebrate Xiao Jinghua's birthday together this year." Wen Xian readily agreed, as if welcoming a fresh beginning. Xiao Jinghua and Nanyi departed the villa by noon. As a multitude of affairs awaited his attention back at the company, Nanyi absent-mindedly tidied her belongings while Xiao Jinghua, amidst their phone conversation, glanced at her expression. After ending the call, he approached and gently tousled her hair, asking, "What are you thinking about?" With a heart still tumultuous, Nanyi feigned calmness. "I was just wondering where I might have misplaced that notebook where I used to copy messages." Upon hearing this, a hint of embarrassment flashed in Xiao Jinghua's eyes as he took the bag she was holding. "All your things are at home. Perhaps you simply forgot where you placed them." He then exited the room, patiently waiting for her in the corridor. Nanyi checked her belongings for any omissions and turned to see Xiao Jinghua waiting for her in the corridor, holding her bag. From a distance, she observed him, his fair skin, handsome and rugged features, the passage of time having rendered him more composed and reserved, yet not the kind of presence that invited casual intimacy in public. The palpable air of dignity surrounding him could not be concealed, regardless of his knowledge and refinement. Xiao Jinghua looked up at her, thinking she was still caught up in the matter of the notebook. "Let's go home and help you find it." She walked over with a smile, naturally linking her arm with his, teasingly asking, "You didn't hate me back then, did you? Did you burn it out of anger?" Xiao Jinghua's gaze turned distant, his voice slightly husky. "Am I as heartless as you?" In that moment, Nanyi's heart felt as clear as the moon illuminating the sea. A sense of understanding washing over her. She realized that love cannot be quantified. It is about giving one's utmost to the other, without measuring it against any standard. Some people's love may be limited yet entirely devoted, while others may share their affection broadly, but can only offer a mere taste. There are those whose love is silent, yet resonates profoundly. In her youth, Nanyi had grown accustomed to Xiao Jinghua and his companion's reckless behavior, sometimes genuinely believing them to be devoid of compassion. The frivolity of Chen Qinghua, the cunning of Wang Chengyan, and Xiao Jinghua's detached observation often left her feeling rebellious, determined to oppose their ways. During that time, Chen Qinghua enjoyed a lavish lifestyle, frequently attracting attention from young women seeking his favor. Wang Chengyan dealt with these matters ruthlessly, and Nanyi, unable to tolerate it, confronted him and Qinghua head-on, only to find herself lectured by Xiao Jinghua. One day, in a fit of frustration, he chastised Nanyi, clearly outlining the pros and cons. Leaving her blushing with indignation and speechless. Enraged, she stormed away from him. Realizing he had upset her, Xiao Jinghua hurried after her, chasing her from the entrance of Xia Medical College all the way to Chang'an Street. In that moment, Nanyi grasped that this group possessed an innate ability to overlook the masses, their inherent indifference stemming from witnessing others seek favor from the powerful and the disillusionment that followed. However, unbeknownst to her, those she deemed cold had endured 3 years of self-torment after their rift. Chapter 32. He could not contain himself on the journey back to the city. Wan Xinqing called her, immediately delving into serious matters. "Their essay research project at the Institute. You should apply. I can add you directly. Though you won't be the lead, it will still benefit your research credentials." When it comes to matters unrelated to romance, relationships between men and women tend to be more enduring and stable. Nanyi expressed her gratitude, saying, "Thank you, senior brother. Have you gone out during your break? You can come to my house for dinner." Nanyi awkwardly replied, "I am in the suburbs." Luan Xinqing inquired sharply, "You went to the suburbs? Are you with Xiao Jinghua?" The car's soundproofing was excellent, and since they were on an elevated highway, Xiao Jinghua had been resting with his eyes closed, but now he turned to look at Nanyi. Luan Xinqing took on a parental tone, admonishing her from the other end of the line. In the car, besides Xiao Jinghua, one had a pale face while the other was flushed, one was apprehensive, and the other was filled with indignation. Suddenly, he furrowed his brows, opened his eyes, and snatched the phone from her hand. Speaking in a confrontational and domineering tone, "Luan Xinqing, are you desperate to be my brother-in-law?" There was a brief silence on the other end before Luan Xinqing decisively hung up. Nanyi glanced at Xiao Jinghua, noting the ominous look in his eyes, and defended. "Luan Xinqing is actually quite a decent person." Xiao Jinghua shot her a sidelong glance, asserting that a steady individual like himself should not be entangled with Luan Xinqing. When did matters of the Xiao family become his concern? He should step aside. When I'm ready to take action, he was still muddling through things. Recently, Yang Kai was retained at the company by Xiao Jinghua. Xiao Gang, who drove him, had heard since childhood about this distant cousin, notorious for his arrogance. Now, he held himself in high regard, believing that any matter could be resolved with a single word, while his subordinates ran themselves ragged, rarely showing any signs of impatience. Xiao Gang thought to himself that this Miss Zheng was indeed impressive. After the National Day holiday, The neurosurgery department received a particularly special patient, a 6-year-old girl suffering from a severe glioma. This was one of the rare occasions when Director Li Jing led all the doctors on morning rounds. A procession of white coats, filled with the country's foremost medical talents, entered the ward, each physician accompanied by their interns. Upon first seeing Nian Yin, Nan Yi felt a wave of emotion, reflecting on the saying, "May every year be auspicious, and may every day be filled with joy." She was a delightful girl, her lively, bright eyes and chubby, cherubic face embodying the beauty of life's beginnings. Director Li briefly communicated with the patient's family before whispering to Nan Yi, "Call the family to the office separately in a moment." Since Nan Yi entered the ward, Nian Yin had been smiling at her. Before leaving, Nian Yin grasped Nan Yi's hand, showing no fear of strangers. "Doctor sister, are you my attending physician? Can you be my attending physician?" The senior doctors present erupted in laughter, with Wang Weiyun directly stating, "Nan Yi, it seems that being good-looking is advantageous in any profession." Nan Yi took out her usual supply of chocolate for Nian Yin, who beamed with joy, and he felt a profound sense of desolation. Director Li had rarely performed surgeries lately, and this time, he personally spoke with the patient's family, discussing the magnitude of the surgery, which was hardly a cause for celebration. The director tentatively inquired of the family, "Has the child received treatment at other hospitals?" The child's parents, aged and weary, bowed their heads in resignation, as if worn down by the harshness of life. "We heard that Xia Shenwai is the best in the country, so we wanted to give it a try." The director placed the MRI films before the viewing light, and Nani glanced over the images, revealing a diffuse glioma, one of the most malignant types of gliomas, for which there is no solution in the world to date. Director Li candidly conveyed the diagnosis to the family: diffuse glioma of the brainstem. If you look at the films, you can see the compression on the brainstem. The swelling is quite pronounced, and soon there will be hydrocephalus. If accompanied by an H3K27M mutation, this type of diffuse intrinsic pontine glioma typically results in a survival time of around 12 months. At this moment, there was no need to raise the parents' hopes. They had undoubtedly been through many hospitals, and Director Li straightforwardly provided the diagnosis. All patients arrive at large hospitals with a glimmer of hope, yet there are many insurmountable issues in medicine, rendering the doctors powerless. The two parents were brought to tears, and Nani turned her head away from the scene. Li comforted them, saying, "I completely understand your feelings. I must be frank with you. This illness is a global challenge. You need to prepare yourselves mentally. We can only work together to minimize the child's suffering, and whatever treatment method we choose, it must be arranged as soon as possible. You, as parents, must make a decision." Nian Yin's father was inconsolable, suddenly kneeling before Director Li in a desperate plea. "Director, can you save my child?" Nani felt a pang of sorrow. Li gestured for her to help the father up. Since becoming a doctor, Nani had dreaded seeing young patients. The family was escorted back to the ward, and Nani returned to the director's office. Before she could speak, Li preemptively stopped her. "Nani, you need not speak. Your professional judgment should tell you that this is a condition beyond medical intervention." Nani asked, "Surely we can find a way to improve the patient's quality of life?" Li replied earnestly, "Currently, radiation therapy is the only globally recognized treatment. Chemotherapy requires specific targeted drugs, and the workload for genetic sequencing is immense. It remains uncertain if effective medications truly exist. As doctors, we can only do our best. You do not have only this patient, and you cannot guarantee a cure for every patient that comes through your doors." However, in Nian Yin's eyes, these older siblings seemed like saviors, a thought Nani chose not to express. Subsequently, Nian Yin underwent her first surgery, a small hole made in her tiny head. The following morning, during her routine rounds, Nani found Nian Yin lying in bed, her head wrapped in bandages. Upon seeing Nani, the little girl beamed a bright smile, her head unable to move, her dark eyes twinkling as she asked, "Sister Nani, the adults say Xiangshan is covered in maple leaves. I wonder if we will see them this year." Nani smiled and asked, "Why do you like maple leaves?" The simplicity of Nian Yin's reasoning was endearing. When the maple leaves turn red, autumn arrives. When it gets cold, my mother won't have to sell goods outside anymore. She can stay home with me. The disparity between the joys and sorrows of children and adults is often vast, yet profoundly poignant. Nani continued, "But how will your mother take care of you if she doesn't earn any money?" Yet, the child, barely taller than the bedside table, expressed her love in the purest form. "When I grow up, I want to earn lots and lots of money so that my mother won't have to work anymore." The child's father held back tears, while the mother turned away, quietly sobbing. It is said that suffering can wear down a person's will, but at times, it also hastens maturity and clarity of perception. In the office, Zhao Jing, noticing Nani's unusual melancholy, softly urged, "You mustn't let a single patient bring you down. Sister, do you think genetic molecular analysis could offer some assistance?" Nani pondered, "Who will cover the exorbitant costs of third-party testing? Moreover, who can guarantee that spending money will yield favorable results?" Zhao Jing pressed, sensing Nani's silence. "You aren't thinking of making another foolish decision, are you?" In the following 3 days, Nani indeed began to act irrationally. Xiao Jinghua returned home late each night to find her despondent. her dark circles increasingly apparent. Xiao Jinghua had been preoccupied with the Sino-Russian signing ceremony, overwhelmed with responsibilities. Ultimately, Wang Chengyan aligned himself with Zhang Zhongquan, embarking on a new project while Xiao Jinghua closely monitored his progress, fearing any missteps. On the fourth day, after finishing a meeting, Xiao Jinghua called Nani, but she did not answer. He dialed the internal line, instructing Yang Kai to come in, call Zhao Jing, and ask if Nani is at the hospital. Now even Zhao Jing is acting as an informant. After Yang Kai made the call, he reported back. Dr. Zheng has been at Jinhua's genetic research lab these past 2 days. Xiao Jinghua raised an eyebrow. What is she doing there? Yang Kai thought to himself. You two live together every day, and you still need to ask me. At 11:30 that night, as Nani emerged from the laboratory carrying a stack of data sheets, she spotted Xiao Jinghua sitting on a bench in the dim corridor, engrossed in a game. The scene was heartwarming in its simplicity. Xiao Jinghua, typically clad in a suit and tie, exuded an aura of cool elegance. Nani's weariness faded as she rushed over, wrapping her arms around his neck. He looked up and smiled at her, instinctively embracing her waist. Why is your unit working overtime to this hour? As the lab staff turned off the lights and filed out, they averted their eyes from the scene, even though Nani was not well acquainted with them. As the boss's partner, her presence was unmistakable. Comrade Xiao, I am merely accumulating virtue and performing good deeds on your behalf. Xiao Jinghua, with his arm around her waist, raised an eyebrow. Listening to her playful banter with amusement, Nani briefly shared the child's situation with him, and Xiao Jinghua listened in silence as they walked outside together. Ultimately, Nani concluded, I have identified the corresponding targeted drugs for the basic genetic types. I hope they will be of some use to the child, at least allowing her to have some quality of life in the time remaining. Xiao Jinghua observed Nani, who had sacrificed 4 sleepless nights for a child she hardly knew, feeling a mix of pride and concern. He teased her, the family is unaware of all your efforts. Should we have Jinhua post a notice at the hospital tomorrow? Nani slumped in the passenger seat, her voice weary as she replied, as a healthcare professional, I am not a general seeking accolades on the front lines. Treating and saving lives is my duty. Sometimes I wonder, which parent can bear to watch their child suffer without intervening? I suppose this counts as accumulating merit for my future child. Xiao Jinghua's heart fluttered, and he turned to look at her, lightly suggesting, what if we create one tonight? Nani jolted upright in shock, giving him a sidelong glance. Xiao Jinghua, how shameless you are. Xiao Jinghua laughed lightly, feeling a tinge of loneliness. He was not one to cling to traditional notions, but the thought of having a child with the woman he loved was something he secretly yearned for as he approached his 30s. Upon returning home, after finishing his shower, Xiao Jinghua found Nani rummaging through drawers. Upon seeing him, she looked puzzled and asked, where's my notebook? It seems to have vanished. Xiao Jinghua retrieved a deep blue leather notebook from his study drawer and awkwardly handed it to her. She happily received it, the weight of it significant in her hands. He watched as she sat on the floor, carefully flipping through the yellowed pages, which contained records of their conversations since they had been together, mundane yet cherished exchanges that he had once mocked her for meticulously documenting. It was only later that he realized how many times he had read the words, reliving the moments of the past throughout the 3 years when they had drifted apart. She smiled as she looked at him, suddenly overwhelmed by emotion, her slender silhouette trembling inexplicably. He hurried over, withdrew his notebook, set it aside, and pulled her into his embrace, listening as she choked out, Xiao Jinghua, why did I always irritate you when I was young? Xiao Jinghua lifted her onto the bed, allowing her to nestle against him, his voice soft as moonlight. My own woman, of course, I must cherish you. Nani gazed up at him, his face appearing gentle from this angle. He leaned down to kiss her lips, his eyes still on his work schedule on his phone, his warm palm tenderly caressing her arm. This was the first official meeting after when Xian had revealed the truth to Nani amidst their busy lives. She thought of Nian Nian, such a small child, inevitably growing thinner and more haggard, then disappearing without a trace. It turned out they had belittled each other for more than 3 years. In the eyes of death, apart from life, which is its sworn enemy, everything else is but insignificant. She lifted her head and kissed his jaw, feeling his stubble brush against her lips, carrying a scent of cleanliness after a shower. She sensed the warmth radiating from his body, putting down his phone to focus solely on kissing her, their cool, moist lips igniting a tingling sensation, reminiscent of the lingering sweetness of tea, causing beads of sweat to emerge. As the kiss deepened, Xiao Jinghua lifted her onto his lap, their necks entwined, their breaths grazing the skin behind her ear, sending shivers throughout Nani's body. Initially, like on countless tender nights, they intended to embrace and sleep together after kissing. However, the moonlight that night reflected Nian Nian's sorrow, creating a sense of loneliness that made her reluctant to part from her lover's warmth. She climbed onto Xiao Jinghua, feeling his body heat rising and their intimacy burning. She wished to rewind the more than 3 years, as if turning back the hands of time to their original position. His lips traveled down her neck, kissing gently, while she sat before him, her hands gliding through his hair to his temples. He buried his face against her chest, suppressing his voice to a hoarse whisper, Nani, come down, or I may lose control. Chapter 33. A delayed apology, he continued to kiss her softly. With her in front of him, her hands trailing through his hair to his temples. He restrained his voice, huskily saying, "Nani, come down, or I might lose control." Yet this time, she did not comply, allowing the moment to unfold before it spiraled out of control. The girl was vibrant and radiant, softening in his embrace like a gentle spring, making his heated body yearn to transform her into a bubbling spring. Ultimately, she took the initiative to kiss the man, her affection entwined and lingering, as if attempting to convey the love words unspoken for 3 years. Xiao Jinghua sensed the shift in her emotions. So familiar was she that no words were needed to understand each other's thoughts. Shadows obscured their expressions. Repressed longing, once unleashed, surged forth like bamboo shoots after a spring rain, growing wildly. Those intertwined moments of passion and deep affection were no longer mere fragments of memory. They yearned for each other so ardently that many times, Xiao Jinghua regretted not having firmly held on to her, leading them both to drown in their separate worlds over the 3 years. Nani, during those awkward days of reunion, oscillated between self-construction and self-destruction, unable to suppress her instinctual longing for her beloved. It was like a perpetual flame in the tomb of Pai Lisi. Once ignited, it would never extinguish. Xiao Jinghua was captivated by her delicate beauty, his heart fluttering. He leaned in deeply to kiss her, the familiar sweetness flooding his senses. The fervor spread like wildfire, igniting the banks of the river. His breath brushed against her ear. "Do you desire this?" Nani tightened her embrace around him, pressing against his chest, her hands gliding down his straight spine, a backbone that could bend but not break. In that moment, this towering man willingly became her subject under her soft touch. Xiao Jinghua whispered softly, as if fearing to startle the girl in his arms, "I must have done something extraordinary in my past life to deserve your return." Nani felt a bit lazy, resting against his chest, wrapping her arms around his back, her voice tinged with sorrow. "Looking back now, I realize how foolish I was, using what I thought was the best way to belittle our love." Xiao Jinghua paused, never having blamed his father in her heart, nor resented himself. He muttered, "It is the Xiao family that has wronged you." After a moment, he added softly, "I should never have let you endure such suffering." Nani raised her head to kiss his cheek, brushing her lips against his jaw before nestling into his embrace. After a while, her voice grew heavy. "Mingzi once asked me if it was worth it. At that time, I was young, and I thought the best way to protect you was to do just that. I simply wanted you to be safe and have an easier life. That seemed worthwhile to me. Back then, my understanding of commercial competition was limited to what I saw on television. Now I realize that dealing with people is the most exhausting. I know it hasn't been easy for you, Xiao Jinghua. Many years have passed, and I still love you. And I love only you." As the gears of time turned to this moment, they meshed perfectly, never deviating. The years intertwined, fragrant and lush. That night, Xiao Jinghua caressed the girl's slender back, tears pooled in his eyes, unable to hold back, falling into Nani's hair. Countless nights, he had concealed his own weakness behind the intertwining longing, while she never spoke of past hurts, suffering 100-fold herself. Countless times, she had faced her own ridicule, apologizing to herself as if the fault truly lay with her. He held her, words feeling weightless. Only his voice choked as he whispered, "I am sorry." Nani remembered it was the year 2010, nearing graduation, preparing for her medical licensing exam. In mid to late May, the weather turned foul, and on the day of the exam, dark clouds loomed, and heavy rain fell. As the rain poured down, the puddles before the examination hall reached shoe level. Candidates trudging through the water to the campus, the entrance blocked by a barrier preventing any vehicles from entering. Nani gathered her bag, rolled up her pants, and prepared to run inside. Suddenly, Xiao Jinghua turned off the engine and stopped her. "What are you doing?" "Wait." Nani was puzzled by his intentions. He handed her an umbrella. "You take the umbrella." Then she saw him step out into the rain. She hurriedly called out, "What are you doing?" He opened the passenger door. "Get down. I'll carry you in. You hold the umbrella." Nani was taken aback, gazing at him as the rain fell from the sky, instantly soaking her clothes. Seeing her stunned, he reiterated, "What are you waiting for? You'll get drenched if you don't hurry." He parked the car by the roadside and lifted her onto his back. Nani listened to the rain, creating a symphony, while a mist rose from the ground, people rushing past, unable to help but glance at them. Nani snuggled against his shoulder, feeling as if a cat's tail was sweeping across her heart. This impeccably neat man had never appeared disheveled since they met. She wrapped her arms around his neck and whispered in his ear, "Xiao Jinghua, why are you so good to me?" The man laughed softly in front of her. "What foolishness are you talking about now?" At that moment, she silently resolved never to part from this man in her lifetime. Xiao Jinghua placed her at the entrance of the teaching building, a mischievous smile gracing his lips, suggesting that she should cherish the present as the future would inevitably grow busier, helping to alleviate some grievances. At that time, Nani beamed, revealing a neat row of white teeth, at the prime of her youth. She felt fortunate to possess the most beautiful love a girl could hope for. He affectionately ruffled her hair, instructing her to study well, mentioning that he would have Yang Kai come to pick her up later. Nani's eyes sparkled, reflecting Xiao Jinghua's handsome face, and with a ripple of joy at the corners of her mouth, She dashed into the teaching building, calling back, Xiao Jinghua, let us always be together. Later, in the dormitory, the girls were discussing love. With 4 of them present, Mengzi asked what they would be willing to give up for their boyfriends. One girl jokingly replied that she had 10 yuan to share, while another laughed that she could offer intimacy. The room erupted in laughter. When Mengzi turned to Nani, she playfully declared, I'd give my life. The others laughed even harder, recalling how Nani was always focused on her studies, and how could she possibly have a boyfriend? Little did they know that her words would turn prophetic, as she would indeed sacrifice a part of herself for love. Their memories accumulated like layers in a towering spire, reaching toward the clouds. As they reminisced about the past, those beautiful moments felt like a poisoned wine, intoxicating yet deadly, leaving them to awaken amidst the vast sea of humanity, grappling with the harsh realities of life, where their past experiences pierced deep into their bones. Unbeknownst to them that the happiest days of their lives had morphed into the most toxic poison over 3 years. Fortunately, this poison still had an antidote. Chapter 34. The chaos of the elite circle. Some individuals always make a uniquely grand entrance, such as Xinjiai, whose next move is perpetually unpredictable. One breezy night in the deep autumn, Nani was conducting her usual outpatient duties when a strikingly handsome man entered the clinic. With fair skin and enchanting almond-shaped eyes, he captivated Qin Shu, the intern accompanying Nani, who was instantly smitten. Nani tapped the intern's computer, questioning, what are you doing? Qin Shu quickly composed himself. Hiding his starry-eyed expression, the young patient sat awkwardly in the examination chair, unable to articulate his discomfort, exhibiting an odd charm, and ultimately brazenly requested Nani's WeChat. Nani calmly presented her work phone for him to scan, and he promptly left the clinic as if he had completed a mission. Once he departed, Qin Shu, disheartened, asked, why didn't you add him on your WeChat, master? You could develop something further. Though Qin Shu was an intern transferred from another department and slightly older than Nani, he possessed a sharp wit and a knack for adapting to circumstances. At times, Nani, being younger, would adopt a mentor's demeanor, reminding him, haven't I told you that patients are patients? Do not engage in personal relations with them. Qin Shu lowered his head, chastened, but still inquired, isn't he handsome? Ironically, the work WeChat that Nani had neglected for years suddenly received a flurry of messages. Qin Shu, despite addressing her as master, was now reveling in the drama, realizing it was all about her, thinking this farce would fade within days. Nani was taken aback one lunchtime when she and Zhao Jing were again approached by a striking blue-eyed foreigner outside the hospital's restaurant. Nani mused that there could not be so many coincidences. When the handsome foreigner, struggling with his Chinese, asked for her contact information, she retorted, what will you offer in return for my contact details? His shock quickly turned to embarrassment as he blurted out in German, Miss, that's not the case. Who would want her money? At that moment, Shun Jiai, adorned with a wide-brimmed hat and dark sunglasses, sat in a secluded corner of the restaurant, epitomizing an odd yet captivating presence. Intrigued, Nani responded in German, after obtaining my WeChat, what is the next act? The blue-eyed man was momentarily taken aback, stuttering, to take you to a bar. Nani smiled knowingly. Which bar? Provide me the address, and I shall go directly. He named a popular bar, bowing with gentlemanly grace as he bid her farewell. Zhao Jing, puzzled, stared at Nani. What is going on? Nani mischievously grinned. Have you heard of the European knights from the 19th century who shot each other over a lady's affections? Zhao Jing gasped. You can't be serious. You have a rival. Nani playfully replied. A remarkable man often has several formidable exes. Although Zhao Jing was mature, she had not witnessed the realities that Hirue had. You should inform your significant other. Why deal with it yourself? Nani had once considered Xinjiai a hypothetical rival. She surmised that even if Xinjiai held no feelings for Xiao Jinghua, human possessiveness would undoubtedly create some conflict within her. Yet, she did not believe Xinjiai was there to confront her. Some matters require a ritualistic conclusion, a definitive ending. That night, after finishing her work, Nani changed into comfortable clothes and made her way to the bar. Mengzi had been waiting at the entrance, and upon seeing Nani, her eyes lit up. Dressed in a caramel leather jacket, a snug black tank top, and cropped jeans that accentuated her slender ankles, Nani was a striking figure. A stark contrast to her daytime persona as a compassionate healer. In Sanlitun, the bar scene was ever-evolving, with new establishments appearing in less than 6 months, the neon lights serving as the street's vibrant palette. Mengzi approached her, asking, what is the occasion that brings Dr. Zheng here? Nani smirked, it's Shunjiai, the heiress. Mengzi, unable to contain herself, exclaimed, what good can come from an ex seeking out a current partner? You should call Xiao Jinghua. As they entered the bar, the LED lights flickered, casting beams in the dimmed space, dancing off the irregular glass decorations, creating an atmosphere of allure. Nani glanced at Mengzi. I believe he has resolved whatever needed resolution. Mengzi, feeling uneasy, asked, are we safe? Should I call Meng Minglang? Nani playfully wrapped her arm around Mengzi's shoulders, teasing. My dear friend, I might just offer you to the enemy. Inside the private room, a group of men and women were reveling in their indulgences. Upon Nani's entrance, she spotted both of her recent admirers. Shin Jiai lounged on the sofa, perched atop the backrest, playfully engaging in a game of rock-paper-scissors with the men. Having just returned from Indonesia, her previously fair skin now bore a healthy tan, a testament to the sun-worshipping trend among students studying abroad. Yet, this did not diminish her beauty. She radiated vibrancy, captivating all who laid eyes on her. Upon noticing Nani's arrival, she commanded the music to cease, parting the crowd with ease, her slightly tipsy demeanor exuding a playful air. "Dr. Zhang, I never expected someone like you to visit a bar." Nani chuckled lightly. "Isn't it obvious that Miss Shen wanted me to come find you?" Mengzi stood beside Nani, watching Xinjiai with wary eyes. Xinjiai remained silent, her gaze shifting back and forth as she sought the perfect words to seize the upper hand. "You stole my man. I deserve an explanation," Mengzi retorted. "You and Xiao Jinghua were divorced long ago." Xinjiai turned, retrieving a bottle of XO from the table, presenting it to them. "Without Dr. Zhang, I doubt it would have ended." The gathered crowd, taken aback by the extraordinary turn of events, began to reassess the uninvited guest. Nan Yi felt a pang of guilt towards Xinjiai, not so much out of emotional debt, but rather stemming from the pity the victor often holds for the vanquished. In contrast, Xinjiai's scrutiny of Nan Yi was fueled by curiosity about the peculiar Xiao Jinghua. She was eager to discern what made this luminary so exceptional, what kind of virtuous maiden she was, and if she could ensnare her in a trap, considering her merely a mortal being. Yet, this iron wall proved to be somewhat painful to challenge. Nan Yi, wishing to diffuse the tension, took Meng Zi's hand and seated herself, tilting her head to observe Xinjiai. Xinjiai, in a playful manner, placed a bottle of XO before her and provocatively stated, "If you drink this, we can discuss your affair with my man." The 10 or so individuals present held their breath, witnessing this dramatic spectacle that could only be described as a farce in high society. Meng Zi attempted to intervene, but Nan Yi, removing her coat, revealed her slender arms and delicate shoulders, said, "Miss Shen, why not drink and play at the same time? What do you usually indulge in?" Seeing her like this, Xinjiai found her amusing, no longer resembling the composed doctor she had seen in the hospital with her gold-rimmed glasses. She flipped the dice cup and declared, "Let us go. May the best player win." Nan Yi silently thanked her foresight in notifying the hospital in advance. Otherwise, a sudden emergency would have been disastrous. Even the formidable Xinjiai was caught off guard, discovering that Nan Yi was quite the skilled dice player. Little did Xinjiai know that Nan Yi had been honing her skills among subordinates akin to Wang Chengyan over the years, far removed from the traditional image of a female doctor she had once observed on the hospital bulletin board. To assert that Xinjiai harbored no feelings for Xiao Jinghua would be disingenuous. Early bonds formed in youth, coupled with Xiao Jinghua's remarkable appearance and esteemed reputation, had once led her to employ some tactics to entice her husband during the early days of their marriage, only to find him impervious. Eventually, she chose to relocate entirely. Xinjiai possessed one redeeming quality. She was not overly sentimental, simply refusing to burden herself. The union of their families had never been purely altruistic. The schemes of her father and brothers echoed through Beichuan. Though she indulged in a life of extravagance, she was not foolish enough to dwell on her disappointments. Yet, the specter of defeat lingered, as in the case of losing to an unseen Zheng Nan Yi in Xiao Jinghua's eyes, or now, losing at dice to Zheng Nan Yi again. Xinjiai, incensed, switched the dice cups 3 times, employing 5 different methods, until, with the last bottle of liquor nearly empty, it became apparent that every time she lost, Nan Yi consumed a bit more. Meng Zi, alarmed, attempted to intervene but could not contain Nan Yi, knowing well that her current alcohol tolerance would surely leave her inebriated. As the game reached its climax, Nan Yi's eyes grew hazy, her fair skin flushed with the effects of alcohol. In a hoarse voice, she remarked, "Miss Shen, your skills are lacking." Clearly, Xinjiai was also intoxicated, retorting, "Dr. Zheng, your drinking abilities are quite mediocre." The crowd, largely composed of Xinjiai's companions, could not resist the urge to egg them on, urging Nan Yi to drink more. Just then, the door to the private room swung open forcefully, and Meng Zi entered alongside Xiao Jinghua. From her dazed perspective, Nan Yi beheld the man, the vibrant neon lights around him blurring into a deep, saturated portrait. She smiled, her words slightly slurred. "Xiao Jinghua, why did you take so long to arrive?" Chapter 35. The heart of the sword-bearer. This farce reached its zenith with the arrival of the male lead, allowing the onlookers to finally witness the much-rumored youthful talent 3 years after Xinjiai's marriage. At the moment Xiao Jinghua appeared, the audience collectively reached a consensus. He was indeed a poor match for Xinjiai, leaving many perplexed as to how she could even consider divorce. Surely, she must have lost her mind. Upon entering, Xiao Jinghua spotted Nan Yi reclining on the sofa, her head propped on one hand, her exquisite ponytail catching the light, her fair skin glowing under the illumination. Upon noticing his presence, her pupils dilated in drunken distress, as she questioned why he was only just arriving. He approached, effortlessly lifting her by the arm and cradling her against his shoulder, her body limp and pliable against him. Glancing back at Xinjiai, he inquired, "Did you allow her to drink this much?" Xinjiai, taken aback by the sight of Xiao Jinghua affectionately holding Nan Yi, momentarily lost her composure. It turned out that this seemingly aloof man was not entirely indifferent to women. Leaning back against the sofa, she provocatively gazed at him. Are you going to reprimand me now? Nan Yi, her mind already clouded, instinctively defended herself. It's not Shun Jiaye's fault. I chose to drink. You didn't keep your word. Clearly, this was an attempt to dredge up past grievances, as if to say that some wounds had festered for too long. Xiao Jinghua, feeling exasperated, tenderly stroked Nan Yi's back, soothingly saying, All right, it's my fault. We can discuss this later. Shin Jiayi, however, burst into laughter, only to be interrupted by a cough. Her male companions caught in a dilemma as they pondered whether to approach. Despite Xiao Jinghua's gentle tone as he comforted the girl, his demeanor towards outsiders remained ominous, leaving many to swallow hard. Shin Jiayi remarked, Xiao Jinghua, look at you now. They say you are ruthless, but it seems your heart lies here. Rest assured, I have always lost. She hasn't drunk much. Xiao Jinghua retorted coolly, don't think I'm unaware. You specifically arranged for Nan Yi's clinic visits. Stumbling to her feet, Shun Jiayi leaned closer to Xiao Jinghua, the aroma of alcohol mingling with her strong perfume. She whispered softly, shouldn't you thank me for creating this opportunity for you? Xiao Jinghua replied curtly, thank you. He gently lifted Nan Yi's chin, turning her face towards him, and sighed, can you still walk? In that moment, Nan Yi had lost her ability to articulate, her lips now fuller and more alluring from the alcohol. Xiao Jinghua's gaze lingered on her lips, and he couldn't help but sigh again, lifting her up entirely as he strode out amidst the watchful eyes of the crowd. Meng Zi, holding on to Nan Yi's coat, saw them off to the car, cautioning, she has had quite a bit to drink, drive carefully. Xiao Jinghua fastened Nan Yi's seatbelt and leaned towards Meng Zi, saying, thank you for your help this time. Rarely did he show such courtesy, prompting Meng Zi to tease. Would Xiao Dong like to hear a story? I'll tell you when you invite me to dinner. Xiao Jinghua chuckled lightly. I look forward to it. As the car pulled onto the road, the dazzling lights on either side transformed into countless streaks, fading away behind the window. Nan Yi rested her head against the passenger window, the cool breeze brushing her face as a torrent of emotions surged within her, leaving her with a sense of profound grievance. For a long while, Nanny felt as though she were navigating a dark sea at night, the inky depths surrounding her. The darkness enveloped everything, her only fixation being her inability to relinquish Xiao Jinghua. During that period, she dissolved her emotions and bottled them up, convincing herself that she could calmly accept that Xiao Jinghua was entirely hers. Until recently, Xiao Jinghua had finally begun to follow the necessary procedures. She still vaguely recalled Shun Jiayi, caught up in the excitement, draping her arm over Nan Yi's shoulder, exuding a chivalrous air as she boldly declared, Xiao Jinghua is just like my brother. What I want in this lifetime will never be taken away by others. She recounted every embarrassing anecdote about Xiao Jinghua with great detail, including tales from his childhood when he had pilfered a pistol from an old general, only to be nearly beaten to a pulp. This would always elicit a smile from Nanny. Meng Zi, equally bewildered, had expected a tense confrontation, only to witness a scene reminiscent of brotherhood. The cool breeze gently brushed away the tears of the girls. They were finally able to present themselves as a couple in the eyes of the world, even if they were not the pair that society deemed ideal. Just as Wang Chengyan, who had long doubted their compatibility, would step in to defend her when others made light of the situation. Just like Professor Liao, who has been persistently urging his child over the phone, has recently lost his luster, he occasionally inquires, is Nan Yi's health still well? Xiao Jinghua takes her hand, but she stubbornly refuses to turn back. He sighs softly, don't expose yourself to the wind. It's easy to catch a cold after drinking. Nan Yi remains silent, her petite figure appearing forlorn. He parks the car by the roadside and pulls her closer, only to discover her eyes brimming with tears. The alcohol has flushed her cheeks, and her dreamy eyes are filled with sorrow. She bites her red lips, enveloped in his suit jacket, devoid of her usual resilience. Sobbing as if shattered like a small beast, Xiao Jinghua panics, replaying the chaotic antics of Shun Jiayi in his mind, uncertain where they might lead. He adjusts the seat to the back, embraces her gently, and anxiously pats her back. Stop crying. Take a deep breath. We won't cry anymore. Gradually, she manages to release a breath, resting against his chest, her tears seeping into his shirt. Xiao Jinghua tenderly brushes her cheek, wiping away her tears, his heart beating erratically as he softly reassures her, it's all my fault. I've caused you distress. The efficacy of words spoken often surpasses that of actions. A gentle breeze stirs the willows, rippling the surface of the lake. The girl's tears continue to fall silently. He holds her carefully, afraid she might vanish in the next moment. The eloquence of the debate at the conference dissipates as he stumbles over his words. Xiao Jinghua is not a good person. I've put you in a difficult position. It's my breach of trust, my shortcomings, and not your fault. Let us not cry anymore, shall we? She leans on his shoulder, turning her head to gaze out the car window at the ebb and flow of people. It becomes evident that emotions often defy reason. A single phrase can soothe the pangs of longing, compelling one to willingly transgress boundaries. Love, seemingly the most futile, manifests in fleeting moments of beauty, chaotic yet exquisite. As she listens to her beloved's murmurs, even the coldest and proudest individual finds no better way to express their feelings, clumsy yet sincere, simply because he genuinely cares. She lifts her head, observing the slight furrow of his brow, a myriad of emotions converging in his expression. His captivating eyes are filled with her reflection, his fierce countenance softening in tenderness. She leans in to kiss his lips, which feel cool against hers, and she chokes out, "Xiao Jinghua, you finally came." Xiao Jinghua gazes at her, so close yet so distant, his eyes shimmering with vibrant emotion, a ray of light penetrating his heart. A thought arises within him. They have finally returned, whole and unbroken. He cradles her face, kissing her warm lips. Nan Yi feels the alcohol dissipate her shyness as her hands entwine around his neck. His kiss is delicate and lingering, gradually parting her lips to explore her tongue, sensing her increasing softness, intoxicated and alluring, melting into his embrace. Xiao Jinghua's kiss trails from her temples to her ears, a warm caress reminiscent of summer. Their emotional connection finally takes root, enduring through seasons, blossoming into an expansive canopy. In the aftermath of their drunken revelry, she rests languidly in his arms. At that moment, an ill-timed figure in a hat knocks on the glass. Xiao Jinghua initially ignores it, but the newly appointed traffic officer persists, his voice clear through the soundproof glass. "Who told you to park here? Can't you see the no parking sign?" Without hesitation, Nan Yi climbs back into the passenger seat, slipping into Xiao Jinghua's coat, leaving only her eyes visible. Xiao Jinghua playfully pinches her bottom, provoking an annoyed glare from her. A captain in uniform, adorned with insignia, swiftly approaches the traffic officer, reprimanding him. "What are you doing?" The officer defiantly retorts, and Xiao Jinghua can no longer remain aloof. He lowers the window, glancing coolly at the captain, who deliberates before approaching, extending his hand through the window with a smile. "Hello, sir. Our new colleague here." Xiao Jinghua responds politely. "It's all right. I truly didn't see the sign. Parking here is quite hazardous." He doesn't recognize the captain, but engages in casual small talk. "Why are you out here on duty?" The captain replies, "The department is conducting a citywide inspection, so we're all out." Xiao Jinghua inquires, "Is Director Zhao out as well?" The captain shakes his head. "No, he is not needed." The young officer doesn't require reprimanding. He asks quite diligent. Later, as they turn back onto the road, he takes her hand, reverting to his playful demeanor. "Why are you running away? Is there something to be embarrassed about?" Nan Yi, now fully sober, retorts, "I don't have your thick skin." Eventually, as she truly enters Xiao Jinghua's life, she begins to grasp the intangible nature of power and how it can subtly shape one's demeanor into coldness. The class differences she once scorned in her youth become a double-edged sword, capable of both vanquishing demons and cultivating virtue. The swordsman stands frozen in a realm of ice. Yet within his heart lies a landscape of misty Jiangnan, a serene scene of egrets and painted boats. Chapter 36, an unwanted display of affection. On the last weekend of October, Hirue formally visits Yihao Courtyard to see Nan Yi. The door is opened by the housekeeper, and upon entering the living room, she witnesses a heart-wrenching scene. Nan Yi is nestled in Xiao Jinghua's embrace, both engrossed in a game. That year, League of Legends had swept the nation, producing numerous outstanding competitive players over time. Spotting Hirue, Nan Yi hastily glances down, playfully saying, "Wait for me a moment. I'll finish up soon. I'm in a ranked match." Fortunately, Xiao Jinghua takes over her game. Otherwise, Hirue might have choked on the overwhelming display of affection. Hirue greets Xiao Jinghua respectfully, to which he lazily responds. She had previously known of Xiao Jinghua's indulgence towards Nan Yi, but the extent of his affection was quantified in her mind by his lavish gestures, increasingly extravagant as time passed, particularly in the later stages. Xiao Jinghua gradually became synonymous with the official demeanor of political channels, and Hirue felt a stark contrast between him and the image of the couple before her. She takes in the spacious flat, the opulent Bafi cabinetry, and the imposing sight of the royal city visible outside the window, all seemingly mocking the disparity of fate. Hirue's self-proclaimed exceptionalism, her relentless pursuit of resources and hard work, is merely a reformation of someone else's life. However, today she is here to repay a debt, and the posture of gratitude must be meticulously maintained. Nanny extricates herself from Xiao Jinghua's embrace, cheerfully asking, "Hirue, have you eaten? Would you like to join us for lunch?" Hirue politely declines. As she sits down, Xiao Jinghua returns to the study with his phone, while Nan Yi, still concerned, reminds him, "Don't lose, all right." Xiao Jinghua surprisingly replies, "I know." Hirue forces herself to remain composed, her professionalism intact. "I believe I've paid off all my debts." Nan Yi inquires, "Why are you in such a hurry? We aren't pressing for it." Clearly, returning the money to her seems appropriate. There's no need to send it to Jinhua Group. Hirue explains, "I'm much better off now, so I repaid it as soon as I could." Nan Yi asks, "What are you busy with now?" Hirue enthusiastically discusses her genetic medical project, speaking at length, sending multiple voice messages on WeChat, and performing impressively in practice. Nan Yi, however, finds herself uninterested, unable to dampen the mood, lounging on the sofa while clutching a pillow, resembling a beleaguered figure. Suddenly, Xiao Jinghua emerges, lifting her from the sofa as if she were a child, resting her on his shoulder, and turning to the astonished Hirue, saying, "You sit tight, I'll change your clothes. We need to head out soon." Nanny peeked out from his shoulder. Chuckling heartily, "We agreed to watch a movie together. Why don't you join us?" Her invitation was genuine, as Mingzi had once been drawn into her circle during times when she had no friends. Upon hearing this, Hirue felt a tightening in her throat, a burning reminder of past moments. Before she could respond, Xiao Jinghua, carrying the little girl, headed straight to the cloakroom to change. Nanny scolded playfully. "What are you doing? Hirue is still outside." Xiao Jinghua ignored her, sitting on the middle bench, diligently selecting clothes for Nanny. Hirue, seated on the sofa, gazed into the distance, overlooking the ancient palace gates, the cold city walls, and the deep courtyards, mirroring the state of her heart. When Nanny hurriedly emerged from changing clothes, she announced, "We're not going to the movies anymore. Let us go eat instead." Hirue felt awkward but was somewhat inclined to engage more with Xiao Jinghua. Just as she was about to agree, she witnessed Xiao Jinghua taking a pair of socks and gently positioning the little girl on the sofa, resting one leg over his own as he naturally put the socks on her, to which Nanny showed no resistance, indicating her accustomedness to this. However, the onlooker felt quite uncomfortable, and Hirue awkwardly stood up, seeking an excuse to leave in haste. As soon as she departed, Nanny cocked her head at Xiao Jinghua, finding it amusing, and feigned a frown, asking, "What are you doing, trying to chase her away?" Xiao Jinghua raised an eyebrow. "Oh, so now you're being picky about my service?" He leaned closer, his warm breath brushing against her cheek and lingering at her lips. "Be good and pay less attention to her." Xiao Jinghua had never voiced any issues regarding Hirue, merely suggesting that she avoid her. Since that incident, Hirue had rarely mentioned Xiao Jinghua in Nanyi's presence, for she understood that Xiao Jinghua truly loved her, an affection that could incite jealousy in every woman. It was a love that stirred darkness within one's heart, simply because he was such a cold and indifferent person. Yet he had bestowed all his affection upon one individual. It was only after Hirue's defeat and the day of her friend's estrangement that she realized it was not Nanyi's fault. In this world, there were those who prayed, those who worshipped, some who attained enlightenment, and others who fell, where every cause bore its effect, all stemming from personal demons. On October 28, 2013, a tragic incident occurred on Chang'an Street when a jeep barreled onto the sidewalk, crashing from east to west into Jingshui Bridge, resulting in 2 fatalities and over 40 injuries. The nation fell into solemnity as news broadcasts displayed the horrific scenes. Xiao Jinghua and Bai Huanming were in the corporate office, witnessing the grim reports, coordinating with subordinates to tighten safety protocols while offering reliable financial assistance to the victims. Bai Huanming teased, "You're increasingly exuding a sense of ownership these days." Within the group, only Bai was from a small firm on Financial Street, having joined Xiao Jinghua in transitioning to Jinhua Group. The day was overcast, resembling a prelude to morning. Xiao Jinghua dialed Nanyi's number but received no answer. Bai Huanming remarked, "No need to call again. The incident occurred so close to Xiehe. The hospital must be quite busy." Xiao Jinghua scanned the silent WeChat messages, noting that a young girl should have reported her status before a regular procedure, suggesting she might have been caught in an emergency. He stated, "Keep an eye on tomorrow's business dinner with SBC." Bai Huanming reclined back, resting his hands behind his head. "Don't worry, during such turbulent times, I'll certainly be more cautious. But you should be careful. Your relationship with the Shun family has become somewhat tense." Xiao Jinghua sat in a relaxed posture, his legs crossed. If the benefits slip away, they will definitely cause a stir, especially since Shun Jinyan has been rather scheming. Bai Huanming remarked, "It's ridiculous. We work ourselves to the bone while they engage in internal strife, completely misaligned in their aspirations." Suddenly, Bai Huanming recalled something, asking, "How did Chang'an and Zhang Zhong end up together?" Xiao Jinghua coolly replied, "Chang'an is quite astute. I doubt there will be any issues." The clouds outside the Group S building hung lower, as if the heavens were about to collapse, foreshadowing an impending storm. Bai Huanming began to chat idly. "How is Yi? It's been a while since I saw her." Xiao Jinghua lit a cigarette, pacing to the floor-to-ceiling window, the entire city sprawling beneath him. His expression softened momentarily. "She's doing well, just busy. Otherwise, Chang'an wouldn't need to find a companion from outside." Bai Huanming chuckled. "Chang'an can effortlessly switch companions. Yet you seem reluctant." Xiao Jinghua took a final puff of his cigarette, grinning. "I'll tell Yi tomorrow to come and deal with you." Bai Huanming begged for mercy. "Please, I was terrified of that little girl back in the day. She'd pull all sorts of tricks on you." Xiao Jinghua laughed. "What does it matter? She never takes precautions against anyone." From his vantage point, he could see the outline of Chaoyang Park, but in this season, it was no longer lush and vibrant. Bai Huanming remarked, "With you as her support, does she really need to worry about those things?" Then he teased, "Watch out. One day, you might not be able to handle it all." Xiao Jinghua smiled without replying, extinguishing the cigarette in the crystal ashtray. As long as it was south of the Yellow River, what kind of matters could he not manage? What a joke. Chapter 37. He is the protagonist of Huang Yao. After blocking Wang Cheng'an, He Yan's life returned to an epic tranquility, at times leading her to question whether those few months had been merely a dream, perhaps never having existed. The internship company was a Sino-foreign joint venture, gaining some fame in the industry. During those years, business translation was a sought-after position. As a top student, He Yan was fortunate to accompany company leaders to the SPC dinner, where she encountered Wang Cheng'an, with whom she had not been in contact for a month. Unlike Xiao Jinghua's congenial interactions with various leaders, Wang Cheng'an always appeared disinterested in such social gatherings, languidly seated in a corner, sipping from his glass. Occasionally, a company intrigued by his reputation would approach him for a brief exchange, which he handled with ease. Eventually, his gaze landed on the suddenly appearing He Yan. Clad in a pale pink strapless gown with flowing fabric, she resembled a captivating rose. Yet now, beside this rose lay a pile of organic fertilizer, and Wang Cheng'an squinted, feeling inexplicably agitated. With a slight curl of his lips, he finally stood up, and his accompanying female secretary hurried over. "Mr. Wang, is there anything you're dissatisfied with?" The secretary was astute in reading the room. Wang Cheng'an did not respond, striding through the crowd towards He Yan. Her foreign superior, Charles, eagerly greeted Wang Cheng'an. "Mr. Wang, it's not easy to meet you." He Yan had already sensed his presence. This man had a knack for stealing the spotlight, even as a mere backdrop. Now that he stood before her, she awkwardly shifted away from the hand resting on her shoulder. Wang Cheng'an smiled sociably, speaking fluent English. "Mr. Charles, may I borrow Miss He for a moment?" Charles paused for a moment, scanning Wang Cheng'an's face, confirming he had not misinterpreted, before quickly recovering his expression and agreeing with a procedural smile. Wang Cheng'an took He Yan's hand, seemingly oblivious to the implications, and under the watchful eyes of many, they descended to the 63rd floor's private room. Inside the elevator, He Yan forcefully shook off his hand, but Wang Cheng'an casually draped his arm around her shoulder. Frustrated, He Yan demanded, "Wang Cheng'an, what exactly do you want?" Wang Cheng'an replied nonchalantly, "What else can I do? I can't just stand by and watch others take advantage of you." The elevator doors soon opened, and Wang Cheng'an escorted her towards the room. Not allowing her to resist, He Yan questioned pointedly, "What is our relationship that you feel entitled to meddle in my affairs?" Wang Cheng'an casually hooked his foot onto the door of the room, sending He Yan tumbling onto the sofa, before seating himself at the edge of the bed, gazing at her with a roguish charm. "Yin Yan?" His voice softened slightly, yet possessed a beguiling allure. "Yin Yan, do you not miss me at all?" The collar of his shirt was half open, and his flirtatious eyes sparkled with a gentle warmth, as if steeped in wine. "Everyone makes mistakes. I promise I won't repeat them." "Isn't that enough?" He Yan looked at him helplessly, feeling her words inadequate. His nonchalant demeanor could shatter the defenses she had painstakingly built. She mocked herself. "Wang Cheng'an, we had our fun. What else could you possibly desire?" Wang Cheng'an, momentarily shedding his frivolity, regarded her earnestly, lowering his gaze, exuding a sense of humility and sincerity. "Yin Yan, trust me just this once. I am not one to spin tales frivolously." In that moment, He Yan understood that if he wished to, he could conjure 100 ways to draw her back. He was the type who could effortlessly weave sweet nothings, and in his own words, "If I were to deceive you for a lifetime, it would still culminate in a tale of love until the end." However, what no one knew was that those eyes, so adept at loving, could also harbor a chilling, shattering coldness. He never acknowledged any of his romantic entanglements, referring to the girls only as Miss XX. Yet he was undeniably an expert in seduction, with each former lover left feeling slighted, whether in terms of resources or finances. To He Yan, he resembled a dangerous leopard from the animal kingdom, perpetually alluring yet instilling a sense of trepidation. That night, something irrevocable transpired between them. He swept her long hair aside and whispered dangerously close to her ear, "Do not let anyone else touch you. I am not one to abide by reason." November brought two significant occasions, Xiao Jinghua's birthday and the wedding of Meng Zi and Meng Minglang. It was during this month that Nan Yi was brought into the elite circle by Xiao Jinghua, attending a grand banquet. This was all thanks to an incident where Nan Yi tripped outside the hospital, causing Zhao Jing to swiftly assist her, resulting in a minor scrape and her exclaiming, "Which little imp tripped me?" Medical students are paradoxes, studying science yet deeply superstitious, prompting Zhao Jing to admonish her, "How dare you speak so recklessly in a hospital?" Nan Yi chuckled, but the next day, she could not attend the surgery. Consequently, she was coaxed by Xiao Jinghua into attending a corporate merger banquet. The vast table was lined with chairs, all the gentlemen dressed in formal attire, silently claiming their respective places. Upon encountering Song Ling, who attended as a representative of a subordinate unit, Nan Yi noted her understated elegance in a fitted professional dress, contrasting her usual opulence. This scene was what Nan Yi observed as she and Xiao Jinghua took their seats. Although the meal was not overly scant, she felt a touch of nervousness. Believing she was concealing it well, yet her subtle unease did not escape Xiao Jinghua's notice. He leaned closer, whispering reassuringly, "It's all right. Just think of it as a gathering among your neurosurgery colleagues." Nan Yi shot him a disapproving look, wanting to point out the absurdity of the comparison. However, This exchange caught the attention of several observant attendees, who silently assessed her position at the table. Not one to relish social gatherings, Nanny hesitated to dampen his spirits. She was acutely aware that this was Xiao Jinghua's way of integrating her into his life, a testament to his genuine intent. The conversation during the meal remained polite and official, leaving her in a fog. When it came time for toasts, most of Xiao Jinghua's drinks were intercepted by a lady from the public relations department. Only Song Ling approached, her glass raised with a smile. Congratulations, Mr. Xiao, on successfully acquiring Longshan Chemical. Nan Yi scarcely wanted to lift her head, focusing intently on her dessert. Xiao Jinghua leaned back in his chair, regarding Song Ling with a practiced expression typical of the political arena. Dressed formally, devoid of allure, she now appeared more formidable. Her voice lowered as she leaned closer to him. Our entertainment news section has received some rather intriguing gossip concerning Miss Zhang. At the mention of her name, Nan Yi looked up, her curiosity piqued. Xiao Jinghua turned to her, his tone icy as he asked, "What gossip?" With a smirk, Song Ling, unable to conceal her captivating charm, insisted, "Mr. Xiao, grant me some courtesy. My arm is growing weary from holding this glass." Without further ado, Xiao Jinghua raised his own glass and emptied it. Song Ling, smiling sweetly, retrieved her phone and displayed a screen. "Here, take a look for yourself." Intrigued, Nanny leaned in, wondering if it was her turn to appear in the news. As Xiao Jinghua swiped through the images, she noticed a picture from the day he had come to collect her after an outing with Shen Jiai, where he had embraced her. The image showed Xiao Jinghua blurred, but her and Shen Jiai were distinctly visible. Captioned, "A physician from a certain hospital suspected of being the third party." Even more scandalous was the headline, "A cunning girl successfully supplants the current wife." The titles were glaring and sensational, omitting any mention of the male protagonist. The comments below were equally unsavory, but the website was obscure enough that the public regarded such gossip with skepticism. Nonetheless, the angle of the photograph suggested it had been taken by one of the individuals present that day. Xiao Jinghua abruptly turned off the phone, and Nan Yi's expression darkened imperceptibly. She straightened her posture and inquired, "Is the media capable of fabricating any ludicrous tale these days?" Song Ling, with a hint of triumph, replied, "Are we so sure, Miss Zhang, that this is mere fabrication?" Xiao Jinghua cast a chilling glance her way, his voice laced with frost. "I suspect Kai Zhizhong is also not inclined to continue in this line of work." Song Ling, unfamiliar with Shun Jiai and having never encountered her publicly, initially assumed the gossip was about Nanny. Now, faced with the icy expression of Xiao Jinghua, she felt a cold sweat break out. The atmosphere in the banquet shifted to a tense silence, with Song Ling petrified in place. Eventually, someone had to break the ice. Yan, the merger's head, attempted a nervous laugh, adjusting his glasses as he joked, "Mr. Xiao's lover must be Jinhua. Who doesn't know you spent 200 days a year away?" The crowd finally joined in a laughter that felt forced. Xiao Jinghua cast not a single glance in Song Ling's direction, leaving her abandoned. The head of the public relations department kindly wrapped an arm around Song Ling's waist, guiding her back to her seat with due etiquette. "Please forgive us, Editor Song. Our chairman often enjoys a jest." Once seated, Song Ling realized that someone, perhaps a greedy opportunist, had attempted to use this approach to extort Xiao Jinghua, displaying an audacity that was shocking. This commotion only served to heighten Nan Yi's discomfort, as curious eyes turned towards her, tightening her chest, rendering everything before her bland and tasteless. Unconsciously, she shifted her seat away from him, prompting Xiao Jinghua to pull her closer with a single hand, disregarding any further conversation. She shot him an indignant glare, whispering, "Mind your impact. Even if you are an important character in the room, it does not grant you the liberty to act as you please." What of the leader's dignity? Yet, he remains obstinate. Just a few drinks are hardly sufficient to intoxicate him, and yet he clings to her like a drunken man, seemingly intent on drawing the attention of everyone present. He murmurs, "When do you plan to marry me?" Nan Yi genuinely wishes to cover his mouth. Remarrying within 6 months of divorce would jeopardize his career. Glancing around at the others, she notes their animated discussions about current political affairs, oblivious to their conversation, yet she is certain many have heard his words. She attempts to distance herself, but Xiao Jinghua, ever contrary, grasps her hand firmly, playfully smirking as he says, "Where else can you hide?" Realizing she cannot outmaneuver him, Nan Yi resigns herself, leaning back on the sofa, casting a sidelong glance at him. The person responsible for Langsheng finally inquires, "Mr. Xiao, may I ask how to address this young lady? She seems unfamiliar." He provocatively sweeps his gaze over Song Ling, who shivers under his scrutiny. Xiao Jinghua replies nonchalantly, "Miss Zheng is a neurosurgeon at Xia Hospital." Pausing for effect, he tightens his grip on her hand, feeling the dampness of her palms, and smiles more contentedly, adding, "She is also my future wife." The shift in conversation is so abrupt that Mr. Yan, donning a genial smile, tries to dispel the momentary confusion. For few outside are aware of Xiao Jinghua's divorce. In the political sphere, personal lives are seldom laid bare as they are for celebrities. Thus, Mr. Yan, as the head of Ji Province's Langsheng, finds it difficult to discern whether Xiao Jinghua is jesting or serious. His secretary, ever considerate, leans in to whisper something, rescuing Mr. Yin from his awkward predicament. Mr. Yin laughs heartily. So, she is Mrs. Xiao. With Mr. Yan's bold compliment, others dare to echo his sentiments. At that moment, the young lady wishes she could vanish into thin air, her face flushed with embarrassment, her ears burning. The muted gray of her song, Jin Chi Pao, accentuates her graceful figure. Her cheeks blooming like delicate petals, a striking touch amidst the gathering. Xiao Jinghua gazes at her, captivated by her discomfort, ultimately surrendering to the futility of resistance. She inwardly scolds him for his brazen demeanor, questioning how he can lead a corporation with such a lack of decorum. As the festivities concluded, Yang Kai had already brought the car to the entrance. Xiao Jinghua, amidst everyone's gaze, departs with his beloved, feeling a sense of triumph as he playfully pinches Nan Yi's cheek, teasing, "Why are you still shy, my fierce lady?" Yang Kai drives smoothly into the main road, seemingly oblivious to the world around them. Nan Yi rests her chin on her hand against the car door, admiring the vibrant lights, while he gently pulls her hand, silently inquiring if this is not a grave matter. She turns to him, whispering like a lover, "With such ostentation, there won't be any repercussions, will there?" Xiao Jinghua's eyes twinkle with amusement as he relaxes against the seat, wrapping his arms around her waist, declaring, "I have been quite low-key, any less, and others would take advantage of you." The scent of his cologne envelopes her, offering an unusual sense of security, prompting her to smile. "What shall we do then? You've already made headlines." Concerned for a while, she realizes she has only distracted herself from her own matters. Xiao Jinghua feigns annoyance, glancing at her sideways. Whose fault is that? He recalls the time he called Meng Zi to hear her recount the night Nan Yi had been intoxicated, her cunning demeanor lingering in his thoughts. That night, they had shared an intimate connection, her boldness igniting a spark. She had indeed proven to be a slippery little fox. She pouts, foolishly blaming him. "Isn't that your fault for being so charming?" Xiao Jinghua pinches her chin, leaning in closer, nearly kissing her. Nanny tilts her head back, discreetly glancing at Yang Kai, who appears oblivious to their antics in the back seat. Her heart races, and she steadies herself, daring not to provoke him further, pushing his hand away and hurriedly shifting to the edge of the door. In her flurry, the slits of her chi pao rise higher, and Xiao Jinghua assists her. But just as she bends to adjust her dress, he unexpectedly grips her chin and kisses her fiercely, grinning triumphantly. "You need some discipline." She stares at him, momentarily dazed, before her cheeks blaze with heat. At this moment, Nanny wishes she could find a crevice to hide in. A mundane relationship is far too extravagant for them. Time is never on their side. Thus, they often spend their holidays cocooned at home. Initially, Wang Chengyan had made multiple requests for her to accompany him, but eventually, he simply followed her lead. As long as Xiao Jinghua was not required for corporate decisions, he would bring work home, and their study became filled with stacks of reports, astonishing any visitor. As the year drew to a close, Nan Yi had long surpassed her year-end assessments. Since their reconciliation, she found herself less tense, even indulging in video games during her free time. One evening in mid-month, after a thrilling ranked match, she tossed her phone aside, feeling as if she had completed a significant task. Running over, she wrapped her arms around his neck while he was busy at the computer processing emails. In a stolen moment, he leaned in to kiss her lips, asking, "Why have you stopped playing?" She mischievously replied, "I can't afford to lose again." Not paying much heed, he allowed her to cling to him, but today she seemed particularly affectionate, squeezing her way to the front and awkwardly sitting on his lap. Only then did he notice her unusual intentions, shifting his gaze away from the computer. Her cool, silky skin felt delightful against his hands. Xiao Jinghua raised an eyebrow, playfully asking, "Are you looking to play something else?" Nan Yi, realizing her own experience paled in comparison, especially in terms of audacity, lowered her head, staring at her exposed toes, murmuring, "You don't need to handle emails anymore." As she turned her head, Xiao Jinghua caught a whiff of her delicate floral scent, wondering what shampoo she used. He chuckled quietly, hoarsely calling her name, "E." In his embrace, she responded, "Hm?" His grip tightened around her, his warm breath brushing against her ear. "Let us get married." In that moment, the intensity of passion and clarity of thought converged. She contemplated how the youthful promise had circled back, and he was still intent on fulfilling it. He had never uttered the words "I love you," yet he had strived to embody them. Chapter 39. The overly made-up classmate Meng Zi's wedding is set for November 24th. It seems that she and Meng Minglang are bound by a fateful connection, having dated for 5 years, finally ready to exchange vows. On a weekend in mid-month, Nanny accompanied her to SKP to purchase wedding supplies. After a tiring shopping spree, they settled at a cafe, where Meng Zi remained on the phone, deliberating over which wedding quilt to buy. Nanny descended the stairs to the first floor bar to place an order. As dusk fell, she spotted Hu Jing amidst the crowd. The girl before her was still striking, with porcelain skin and distinct features, a standout among models. She seemed more subdued now, upon seeing Nan Yi. She broke into a warm smile. Had it not been for that smile, the thin layer of frost in her amber eyes would have remained unthawed. They appeared to share an unspoken connection. Nanny greeted her. "What a coincidence. How have you been?" She refrained from mentioning Wang Chengyan, knowing there was no future there. Hu Jing, sensing Nan Yi's discretion, felt her own unease dissipate, and she smiled brightly, as if her laughter could dispel the chill surrounding her. Quite well. Nani endeavored to initiate a conversation, inquiring about her friend. What about that friend of yours? Is she doing well? Nani was referring to Li Wanyue's external injuries. Hu Jing hesitated for a moment before smiling. She might be getting married soon. Nani stared at her in astonishment, initially believing they were a couple. At that moment, the bartender approached to take their order, and Nani snapped back to reality, hastily paying for Hu Jing as well. Hu Jing politely declined at first, but ultimately conceded with a thank you. Their relationship could hardly be deemed friendship. Like many young women drifting through the city of Sijio, they were willing to invest, yet lacked any serious guidance, wasting time and experiences on fantasies that culminated in dreams tinged with regret. Was it merely regret for the body? Or was there a heartfelt sincerity akin to splashed water? Therefore, after receiving their meals, Nani refrained from engaging in further conversation, offering a polite farewell as she prepared to ascend the stairs to find Meng Zi, only to be unexpectedly called back by Hu Jing. Nani turned to look at her, unable to decipher the unspoken words lingering in her gaze. They stood so close that Nani noticed the eerie tranquility in Hu Jing's eyes. Could you assist me in arranging a body donation application? Nani gazed at her in bewilderment, questioning what? Hu Jing, however, spoke with calm assurance. This is not a spur-of-the-moment decision. I have contemplated it for quite some time. Nani studied her eyes. If not for their peach blossom shape, one might be chilled to the bone as if stripped of worldly warmth. After a prolonged silence, she finally replied, actually, this falls under the jurisdiction of the Red Cross, but our hospital can also handle it. Allow me to fetch the application form for you. She took down Hu Jing's contact information and hurried back to the second floor. When she finally settled beside Meng Zi, listening to her animated conversation with Meng Minglang over the phone, she felt the vibrancy of life around her. The somber hues surrounding Hu Jing were overwhelming, reminiscent of a spirit plant weeping for its gratitude and destined to shed its final tears. In time, Nani came to learn that after the dissolution of Hu Jing's relationship with Wang Qing'an, Li Wanyue received an invitation to join Cui Xian's production crew. At that time, director Cui was shooting a historical drama, and Li Wanyue was cast as the fourth female lead. Although the conclusion was not particularly favorable, her lines were relatively abundant. Nani always found the dynamics between the two perplexing. Was this the essence of camaraderie, a relationship not quite blossoming into romance? It wasn't until Li Wanyue, riding the coattails of Wang Qing'an, successfully navigated through a year, shining in the spotlight during an awards banquet in the golden autumn of October, that the relationship between the two sisters became increasingly intricate. Li Wanyue quietly withdrew from Hu Jing's world, aligning herself with the emerging young entrepreneur Ji Mingyu, the brother who drove for Zhang Zhongquan. However, in the wake of a financial tide, Ji Mingyu was no longer an unknown figure. Hu Jing's career as a model had not flourished, and as she grew older, it was time for her to transition. In this bustling city, where new faces celebrated while the old lamented, Hu Jing had never sought assistance from anyone regarding her own affairs. The evening breeze awakened the senses. Countless injustices remained unspoken. Yet Hu Jing never voiced her grievances, simply advising those who would eventually part ways. I understand. Take care. Meng Zi pulled her back to reality. What are you thinking about? The lengthy phone call finally concluded, and the immediate task was to enjoy a slice of exquisite cake. Nani felt a spell cast by Hu Jing, and slowly, with a smile, remarked, you two are truly inseparable. You see each other at work during the day and again at home in the evening. You even spent nearly an hour on the phone buying something. Meng Zi blushed at the comment, sipping her coffee. You have the nerve to say that. Your partner is no less domineering than Meng Minglang. Nani pouted. He is indeed domineering, but not clingy. She made a face of disdain. Meng Zi chuckled heartily, genuinely expressing, seeing you like this is wonderful. I am truly happy for you. Meng Zi seemed at a loss for more fitting words, wishing to amplify her sentiment, revealing her sincere hope for Nani's happiness. Around 4 in the afternoon, when Xiao Jinghua came to pick them up, both women found themselves too exhausted to shop any longer. With Meng Minglang heading back to his in-laws that evening, Nani insisted that Meng Zi join them for dinner. Xiao Jinghua brought them to a secluded villa, an unassuming exterior that opened into a surprisingly bright private restaurant. Behind the antique screen lay a stony path, nestled against a mountainside, with bare trees swaying outside, while the interior was lush and vibrant, with a babbling brook. On this day, Hien appeared stunning, her soft white shirt and camel-colored trousers complemented by subtle makeup, resembling a blue and white porcelain vase filled with pale pink peonies, as graceful as a spring in Jiangnan. Upon seeing Nani's bashful demeanor, Wang Cheng'an teased, it's not like we haven't met before. What is there to be embarrassed about? Hien shot him a glance, clearly remembering their first meeting. A moment likely etched in her memory forever. The men gathered, discussing recent investment trends. Chen Xinghua, currently at the State-Owned Assets Supervision and Administration Commission, though a minor clerk, was well informed about internal affairs. They transitioned from stock markets to political matters, and from futures to industrial developments. Nani occasionally caught snippets of their conversation, realizing that Wang Chengyan had been profiting significantly from the projects he was managing alongside Zhang Zhongquan. This left Meng Zi bewildered. He Yin then drew the two into a discussion about the recently popular drama Li Hua Xiaonian, a topic that left Nani at a loss, as she was not one to follow entertainment programs. When He Yin pushed her phone towards Nani to show the lead actor, Nani focused intently, recognizing her childhood neighbor. Xiao Zishan, He Yin excitedly exclaimed. His name is Xiao Luo. He's quite popular now. Do you know him, Nani? Nani inwardly scoffed. She not only knew him, but had attended elementary school with him for 3 years, and had even witnessed him endure a fair share of bullying due to his good grades. He Yin, upon hearing this, became enthusiastic, urging Nani to help her obtain an autograph. Wang Chengyan, seemingly endowed with an extra pair of ears, leaned back and scrutinized He Yin. Yin Yin, let us not chase after those superficial signatures. Chen Qinghua laughed. Chengyan, you seem to have a hand in everything these days. Wang Chengyan shot him an annoyed glance, casually leaning against the sofa back, turning slightly to observe the women, his narrow phoenix eyes narrowing as he addressed He Yin, who was ignoring him. Am I not more handsome than him? Come on, say something. He Yin finally turned her head, blushing, and pouted. I just like to chase stars. Why do you have to compare everything? Chen Qinghua was taken aback. While he had grown accustomed to Nani's antics, Chengyan's playful banter was a novel experience. Wang Chengyan grinned mischievously, his thoughts turning. Huazi, your friend Zheng Daifu has quite the childhood friend. Xiao Jinghua rose and approached the women, snatching the phone from He Yin's hand, nonchalantly stating, let me see who this pretty boy is. Chapter 40, the gift selected by Chengyan. Xiao Jinghua brazenly seized He Yin's phone, flipping through it with an air of seriousness, his expression unchanged as he remarked, is the threshold for stardom really this low now? He Yin retorted passionately about her idol. That's because you don't follow entertainment news. Xiao Luo is incredibly charismatic, down-to-earth, and very friendly with his fans. He is quite a well-known actor. Xiao Jinghua skimmed through some comments and exclaimed, women truly have such fanciful thoughts. Meng Zi openly countered, if not for fanciful thoughts, would you have a mind as filled with your own self-importance as your friend the doctor? Xiao Jinghua chuckled at this remark, tossing the phone back to He Yin and casually tousling Nani's hair, casually inquiring, do you still keep in touch with that classmate of yours? Nani slumped on the sofa, feeling that shopping was far more exhausting than surgery, and replied, what contact could there be? I skipped grades, and many classmates barely got to know each other before parting ways. As Xiao Jinghua turned around to return to his seat beside Wang Chengyan, he overheard the young girl behind him chattering. Xiao Zishan is somewhat acceptable. His father works at the same factory as mine, and we live next door. Otherwise, who would remember who he is? Xiao Jinghua paused, casting a glance at Nan Yi, who was lazily reclining on the sofa, completely narrating a story about an outsider. He inquired nonchalantly, don't you all gather for class reunions? Danger lurked silently, yet Nan Yi seemed oblivious, like a newborn deer, responding, I attended 7 different classes from elementary to high school. Which class reunion should I attend? If it weren't for Xiao Zishan's good looks, who would even remember him? This remark shattered Xiao Jinghua's composure, and he fell silent, observing Wang Chengyan's mischievous grin. He shot a cold glare at Wang Chengyan, who wore a face of smug delight. As the meal neared its end in the private room, Chen Qinghua sighed in frustration. My father has been pushing me hard lately, insisting I go on blind dates and marry early. Why is it that no one in your families cares? My family is all about loyalty and propriety, forcing me into arranged marriages, just like the old days. Wang Chengyan scoffed, if you want to get married, just do it. It won't hinder you from doing what you need to do. He Yin lowered her head, quietly sipping her soup, absorbing Wang Chengyan's flippant attitude towards marriage. Chen Qinghua retorted, you advise others so eloquently. Why don't you get married yourself? Wang Chengyan glanced at He Yin and replied, it's simply not the right time yet. Everyone present understood that he had no intention of marrying. It was not about whom he would marry, but rather that the weight of marital responsibility felt too burdensome for him. He Yin's eyelids twitched. Yet she still did not lift her gaze, afraid to meet his wandering eyes, content to remain in ignorance. Meng Zi rarely interjected in such gatherings, knowing that this world resembled a mirror reflecting another realm. Seemingly the same, yet utterly different, unapproachable and intangible. Chen Qinghua, like pouring out grievances, relentlessly questioned, Huazi, what is wrong with our parents? They all pressure their children to follow their old paths, as if that would heal the emotional voids from their youth. In their time, marriage was trivial. What era are we in? And they still cling to outdated practices. Xiao Jinghua casually replied, I won't comment, but I do intend to marry. Chen Qinghua froze, her expression shifting through various emotions, swallowing hard before asking, are you really getting married so soon? Xiao Jinghua turned to look at Nan Yi, gently toying with her fingertips, and remarked playfully, if I don't get married, someone still has 7 class reunions to attend. A battalion is quite a number. The Xiao family never engages in battles without preparation. Wang Chengyan erupted into laughter, while Chen Qinghua appeared enlightened. Nan Yi, suddenly realizing the implications, hurriedly exclaimed, who said anything about attending a class reunion? Xiao Jinghua responded with a playful "oh," as he tilted his head to observe her, pinching her 4 fingertips and chuckling coolly. It would indeed be convenient to ask for an autograph. Wang Chengyan laughed uncontrollably, only to be silenced by He Yan, who forcibly stifled his laughter, causing him to cough and tears to brim in his eyes. At that moment, Nan Yi looked at Xiao Jinghua and burst into laughter. She felt that life was genuine, and the people around her were real. All those unpleasant days seemed less daunting to recall. She leaned in, lightly brushing her lips against his, smiling sweetly. Let us stamp this. Now you're not angry anymore, right? Mengzi could no longer contain herself, feigning disgust. We're still a group of living people. Can you too consider the feelings of others while flaunting your affection? Xiao Jinghua turned to her, shifting the conversation. I didn't make you watch. Wang Chengyan let out a loud scoff, grabbing his coat and tugging He Yan's arm, exuding an air of defeat. I'm leaving. Next time we eat, I'll prepare some metformin in advance. Just as he took a step forward, he hesitated, adding, Dr. Zhang, don't ask for an autograph. We can't stir up too much trouble, can we? He Yan quickly pulled him out, and the two of them giggled as they disappeared through the door. He Yan began her internship and started preparing her graduation thesis, titled The Genesis of Commercial Negotiation, Chinese Artifacts in Foreign Lands. During this time, she spent her days immersed in the library, poring over materials. Rarely did Wang Chengyan accompany her, and when he did, they would sit quietly in the serene library. He had downloaded a Baccarat tabletop game on his phone, losing himself in it for an entire day with his headphones on. He Yan gazed at Wang Chengyan beside her, feeling a sense of confusion, as if he had suddenly stepped into the sunlight from the shadows. She could never reconcile the party-loving, extravagant Wang Chengyan with the tranquil presence he maintained in the sea of books. Once, as they exited the library building, they were suddenly bathed in sunlight, with the distant, majestic walls of the capital city and the towering palaces reflecting in the light. Wang Chengyan chuckled. Yin Yan, how long are you planning to write? You keep recycling others' ideas. He Yan was still contemplating the meaning behind his words when, the next day, Wang Chengyan whisked her away on a private jet directly to Great Britain. During that trip, Wang Chengyan took He Yan on a 2-day tour of the British Museum, and in the end, he even secretly purchased a thin jade vase with intertwined branches to gift her, hoping to win her favor. Wang Chengyan had previously given gifts to girls, but they were typically perfunctory, strolling through SKP and casually selecting designer bags, watches, or diamonds. Sometimes, he was too lazy to even move, simply asking girls to send him photos to pass on to buyers in Macau for direct shipping. He rarely invested thought into romantic gestures. In his view, if he was to invest effort, it should yield some profit in return. Yet, some individuals possess an aura that makes them feel remarkably unique. In late November, He Yan and Wang Chengyan had a disagreement. The cause was a young male leader at He Yan's internship, a man of some standing in Beichuan, whose family was connected to the Ministry of Commerce. His name was Pei Rue, a well-groomed, refined gentleman. Initially, He Yan believed their interactions were merely professional, having shared a couple of meals together. However, in the small circle of Beijing, news travels fast, and it eventually reached Wang Chengyan's ears. The messenger was an exaggerated girl. And that same day, Wang Chengyan showed up at He Yan's company. In such a sizable foreign enterprise, even the CEO had to show some respect upon seeing Wang Chengyan. Despite the fact that Wang's father had passed away years ago, family legacy aside, the current Wang was a symbol of wealth. Wang Chengyan sat casually with his legs crossed in the chairman's office, sipping tea, causing the host to feel anxious and uncertain of his intentions. He subtly inquired if Wang had any advice, to which Wang Chengyan replied with a playful smile, I just came to see if my girlfriend is comfortable working here. From that moment on, everyone in the company was aware that He Yan was dating a wealthy second-generation heir, leading to a fierce argument between her and Wang Chengyan. With a cold expression, Wang Chengyan provocatively asked, Is Wang Chengyan really that unpresentable that you're so afraid of others knowing? He Yan was furious, feeling misunderstood about what angered her. Their argument devolved into a muddled exchange. Wang Chengyan felt frustrated, rare for him to lower himself for a girl, and seeing her confrontational demeanor left him feeling disheartened. He turned and walked away, severing their communication once more. He Yan thought, let it end then, after all. He is heartless. She vividly recalled how Wang Chengyan had joked about marriage. Out of spite, she pondered that he never truly cared for her, resolutely deleting all their contact information. Until the eve of the 2014 holiday, a classmate from her ancient literature studies stumbled upon that very intertwined jade vase. Their astonishment akin to a meteorite colliding with Earth. He trembled, delicately touching the artifact that had transcended millennia. And it was then that He Yan realized its value was beyond mere millions in a bank account. On that day, she adorned herself with great care, resembling a gift, and summoned her courage to visit Wang Chengyan's private club. As soon as she stepped into the private room, she spotted him engaged in a game of cards with a group of friends, accompanied by a charming young lady. He Yan stood timidly amidst the swirling smoke, as if she could glimpse a violet haze within the white mist. She endured her discomfort, unwilling to show weakness. Wang Chengyan, oblivious to her presence, was preoccupied with his cards, and his companions, accustomed to the sight of girls seeking his favor, could not resist taunting. Sister, look, Wang Gu has moved on. If you can't win him back, why not try your luck with me? He Yan's face turned pale with shame, her lips pressed tightly together. And just as tears threatened to spill, she heard the alluring girl beside Wang Chengyan say, "Brother, you promised to buy me a bag if I win this round." All of this was merely the usual routine. Wang Chengyan never hesitated to abandon the girls he had tired of for new conquests. Yet that day, he suddenly discarded his entire hand of cards, sending them flying across the table. He leaned forward and slapped the man opposite him who had been hurling lewd remarks. The entire room fell silent, and the nearby girls recoiled in shock. Wang Chengyan's chilling laughter echoed, his tone calm, yet laced with menace. "Do you have money?" "How would I know?" This was the first time Wang Chengyan had resorted to physicality for a girl, leaving even his loyal companions momentarily stunned. While they pondered whether they had misjudged the situation, he turned and pulled He Yin away, abandoning the table of affluent young men to retreat to a suite on the third floor. The heavy wooden door closed behind them, leaving only the two of them in the room. Wang Chengyan threw He Yin onto the sofa, removed his patterned tie with frustration, and slammed it onto the bed. With one hand in his pocket, he raised an eyebrow mockingly. "Yin Yin, what kind of performance are you putting on?" Having just endured humiliation, He Yin was utterly drained. Curling up with her arms wrapped around her knees, tears streaming down her face. With her lips trembling and her voice choked, she managed to say, "Do you not want to take care of me anymore?" Her words shattered into fragments, causing Wang Chengyan to furrow his brow. He paced the room, leaned against the bed, and gazed at her, memories surfacing in his mind. The last time, he had been the one begging for forgiveness, but today the roles had reversed. Yet this girl was far from sincere in her demeanor. He coldly retorted, "How do you want me to take care of you? Didn't you say I was too controlling and wanted to part ways?" He Yin, hearing him bring up past grievances, lifted her tear-filled gaze to him. Her voice low, "People make mistakes, but I can change." Wang Chengyan was amused, realizing she had mastered the art of evasion. When He Yin remained silent, her eyes fixed on him, neither daring to approach nor retreat, he grew irritated and lit a cigarette, the flame flickering and casting warmth in his indifferent eyes. However, halfway through, he began to cough from the smoke. He Yin timidly suggested, "If your throat is bad, you shouldn't smoke." Suddenly, Wang Chengyan extinguished the cigarette on the glass table, leaned in, and grasped her neck, his cool lips meeting her moist ones, transferring the faint scent of smoke to her like a mischievous child. He Yin coughed lightly, and he paused, cradling the back of her head, gently brushing away the remnants of her tears with his fingers. Sighing, he remarked, "Next time someone treats you like that, you should hit him." He Yin was taken aback, her gaze lifting to meet his. Her pitiful expression only served to irritate him further, prompting him to complain. "If we had switched to Dr. Zheng today, that brat would have been beaten long ago." Her heart raced, a forced smile tugging at her lips as tears welled in her eyes. Wang Chengyan observed her, his lips curling into a teasing smirk. "Stop smiling, it looks terrible." Yet, instinctively, he wrapped an arm around her, offering her a shoulder to lean on. Thus, this unforeseen calamity came to a quiet end. On one occasion, Chun Qinghua jested, "Chengyan, spending tens of millions to woo a girl?" Wang Chengyan's lips perpetually held a smile as he raised an eyebrow. "Isn't money just a means to find happiness?" Since the divorce between Xiao Jinghua and Shun Jiai had been put on the agenda, the Shun family had ceased to adopt a passive stance. They had previously attempted negotiations with Xiao Jinghua, who had maintained a low profile, displaying sincerity, but under the pressure of immense interests. The Shun family's ambitions could no longer be concealed. Since 2008, international crude oil prices had skyrocketed, placing significant pressure on the Jinhua Group, which primarily engaged in refining and production. Under the pretense of alleviating economic strain, the Shun family forcibly reorganized poorly performing state-owned assets south of the Yellow River, showing indifference to the survival of lower-tier workers while amassing wealth. Meanwhile, Xiao Jinghua focused on producing a large number of quality local enterprises for the nation, ensuring both quality output and the livelihood of 300,000 employees. At this juncture, both sides had reached a point of irreconcilable differences, their original intentions diverging, with management and strategies unable to align. Clearly, if the group could not have at least half of its shares held by the Shin family, they would pursue their objectives by other means. Bai Huanming found it absurd. What had once been a desperate measure had now turned into an invitation to calamity. Xiao Jinghua acknowledged that the Shun family could not be blamed. He had broken the agreement first. Bai Huanming offered him an escape. Who says marriage guarantees a lifetime together? Xiao Jinghua stated the harsh reality. Political marriages are meant to bind, and I chose to break free. Bai Huanming reassured him, even if you don't part ways, it's only a matter of time. Fortunately, we were prepared. Xiao Jinghua's smile was laced with irony, as if to suggest that in the end, Jinhua could truly transform into a private enterprise. The ultimate purpose of national assets is to serve the people. Ultimately, they tore away the last veil of modesty in the international crude oil market, igniting a silent war, revealing the Shen family's ill-gotten gains in the WTI and Brent oil markets. Not shorting the A-shares was Xiao Jinghua's final concession to Shenjiai, preserving a semblance of dignity in their long-standing relationship. Unfortunately, the Shun father and son were unmoved, and their subsequent maneuvers inevitably cornered both families. This would ensure that Xiao Jinghua's upcoming birthday would be anything but ordinary. On Monday morning, after a thorough inspection, the department descended into a lethargic state as the year-end assessments loomed closer. Zhao Jing rubbed her neck and complained, "Just think about it. We surgeons are like Iron Men. Juggling surgeries, outpatient services, writing medical records, conducting research, delivering reports, writing papers, organizing learning sessions, and dealing with inspections. I swear, when I have children, I will never let them study medicine." Yang Chao teased her. "Zhao Jing, do you have a boyfriend? You can't lose sight of the main point. This isn't a chicken or egg dilemma." Laughter erupted among the group. Zhao Jing shot him a glare, her gaze landing on Nan Yi's surgical assessment sheet. "Little Nan Yi, you've done nearly 450 surgeries this year." Nan Yi casually replied while writing a case analysis report. Zhao Jing exclaimed, "With 2 surgery days a week, our department's surgical duration is already lengthy. How did you manage to achieve that number?" Wang Mayun softly interjected, "Nan Yi has assisted with nearly all the chief's surgeries. This doesn't even include the outpatient cases she has taken on, the consultations, or the emergency patients." Zhao Jing expressed her disdain. "Anyone who dates a girl like you is truly unfortunate." Nan Yi suddenly froze, countering Zhao Jing, "What's wrong with me?" Zhao Jing adopted a serious tone, declaring, "What man wouldn't want a sweet and clingy girlfriend? You're the third gender, a female PhD." Wang Mo Yun defended Nan Yi, stating, "What is wrong with Nan Yi? Who would choose a mere ornament?" Before she could finish, the deputy director summoned everyone to the conference room for a meeting. Zhao Jing rolled her eyes, knowing all too well that it was time for significant matters. Wang Mo Yun remained fixated on her unfinished thought, insisting, "Nan Yi, do not listen to Zhao Shiji's nonsense. I think you are quite admirable." Nan Yi chuckled softly, contemplating whether Xiao Jinghua would disapprove of her busyness. Too proud to voice it. Recently, her heart brimmed with joy as she prepared for Xiao Jinghua's birthday. Whenever she had an idea to discuss with Wen Xian, a smile would subtly grace her lips, prompting her 2 disciples to remark on her splendid attitude despite the heavy workload. Yet, she found herself lingering on Zhao Jing's words, questioning, "Am I not charming? Am I not obedient?" This pragmatic young woman could not contain herself, directly messaging Xiao Jinghua with a brief inquiry. "I ask you, am I lovable?" At that moment, Xiao Jinghua was engaged in a Monday morning meeting at the headquarters, surrounded by senior executives. Yet he was seen smiling brightly while fiddling with his phone. Chapter 42, Beyond Life and Death. Only scrapes remain. A comprehensive departmental consultation was convened due to the director receiving a particularly challenging patient in the outpatient clinic, a 26-year-old female with osteogenesis imperfecta. This incurable congenital defect could transform an otherwise healthy individual into a porcelain doll, causing inexplicable falls and frequent fractures from even minor external trauma. After spending considerable time in the hospital, one would understand that living without illness or injury, with a sound body, surpasses the fortune of 80 of the world. The patient, Songwei Rue, was diagnosed with basilar invagination. The surgical complexity of addressing this condition in neurosurgery was already daunting and compounded by her brittle bone disease. Her second cervical vertebra had entirely overlapped the first, resulting in spinal cord compression. This meant that any injury to her neck could lead to a high-level paralysis for Songwei Rue. During the meeting, Wang Mo Yun and Zhao Jing vehemently debated their differing opinions on conservative treatment versus surgical intervention. The purpose of the meeting was to pool collective wisdom. But with several directors remaining silent, no satisfactory conclusions were reached. Deputy Director Liang, smiling, tapped the table and remarked, "Nan Yi, your attitude seems less enthusiastic today. Do share your thoughts." Nan Yi awkwardly chuckled. "Teacher, my suggestion might be somewhat burdensome." Li Jing, with a warm smile, encouraged, "This is an internal meeting. Please feel free to express any ideas." After careful consideration, Nan Yi proposed, "I believe the patient could undergo a combined anterior and posterior approach, entering through the oral cavity to remove the C1 vertebra, replacing it with a graft, followed by performing a posterior odontoid reduction and fixation." Upon hearing this, the conference room fell silent for a moment before Zhao Jing teased, "Once you speak, Nan Yi, our entire department must spring into action." Laughter erupted in the meeting room. Deputy Director Liang inquired, "Xiao Zheng, how shall we address the patient's respiratory issues post-surgery?" Nan Yi replied, "We must resort to intubation until the patient can breathe independently." Li Jing commented, "The recovery period will likely be arduous for the patient." With firm resolve, Nan Yi stated, "However, the surgery will significantly enhance her quality of life and reduce the likelihood of recurrence. Our department cannot always accept returning patients." Another round of hearty laughter ensued. Director Li, visibly pleased, turned to his apprentice and declared, "Let us tentatively adopt Nan Yi's plan, adjusting as necessary based on the patient's condition, and communicate with the family promptly once finalized." As the second assistant during the surgery, Nan Yi had met Songwei Rue prior to the procedure. She exhibited all the characteristics of a brittle bone patient: deformed physique, stooped posture, and frail frame. Perhaps fearful of venturing outside, her complexion pale and cold. A sight that would tighten the heart of any ordinary person, revealing the stark contrast between lives. Yet, often such individuals possess a resilience unattainable by others. Her eyes always sparkled with enthusiasm, warmly greeting the doctors. Nanny asked her, "The post-operative period may be quite challenging. Are you afraid?" Despite the difficulty of even rising from her seat, Song Wei-Rui's gaze remained deep and resolute. "Doctor, you need not worry about the surgery. I have endured worse. I have nothing to fear." Those who possess little often summon the greatest courage to wrestle with fate. The surgery was scheduled for Thursday, and during the days leading up to it, Xiao Jinghua was on a business trip in Nandu after sending him a message. Nan Yi dove straight into the operating room. The entire procedure involved 2 directors, 2 attending physicians, and numerous observing students. The operating room was surrounded by onlookers. A typical basilar invagination surgery would take about 3 hours, but Song Wei-Rui remained on the operating table for 6 hours. Usually, anesthesiologists and assisting doctors would engage in light banter, but today, everyone's focus was fixated on the monitor. Ultimately, the surgery concluded successfully. Yet when Nan Yi noticed the thick breathing tube inserted into Song Wei-Rui's mouth, an uncomfortable feeling washed over her. Post-surgery, Zhao Jing expressed genuine admiration. She remained remarkably lucid. Even after the pain pump failed, she continued to feel discomfort. It's challenging enough for a healthy person to undergo a tooth extraction, let alone her with the tube in place, unable to speak or move. It truly is a torment. Song Wei-Rui was directly transferred to the ICU. 2 days later, when the ICU doctor attempted to extubate her, the surrounding edema was so severe that removing the tube would close off her sole airway. Nan Yi conferred with her supervisor and ultimately decided to postpone extubation until the edema subsided. Thus, Song Wei-Rui remained in the observation room for nearly 3 weeks, over 300 hours, enduring the intubation. In the days that followed, when Nan Yi visited her, despite being accustomed to various patients, she felt a pang of compassion for the resilient soul. "Hold on, you will surely be well." Song Wei-Rui always smiled with her eyes. Although she could neither speak nor laugh, joy and understanding radiated from her gaze. Nan Yi reflected that only with steadfast will can one's spirit remain tranquil and composed. Later, she confided to Zhao Jing, "A person's will to survive can conquer any hardship." Zhao Jing lamented, "We often complain about our discontent. In reality, neurosurgery is unique. In other departments, patients are cured and depart. In our field, we have the most returning patients, as brain ailments frequently recur. A patient treated well may return after a year or so. If they do not return one day, it likely means they are no longer with us. Such is life. Beyond life and death, everything else is merely a scrape." At that time, she was at the pinnacle of her youth, wielding top-tier skills. Her heart filled with dreams of the stars and the sea, her career on a steady ascent, and a bright future ahead. Yet unaware that the pain of falling from such heights would be more profound than that of ordinary lives. Ironically, it was a patient she had treated who ultimately became a guiding presence in her journey. On November 17th, it was Xiao Jinghua's birthday. The two had initially planned for him to reunite with family at noon in the Shijiao courtyard, return to the company in the afternoon to handle some affairs, and then come back to spend the evening with her. Nan Yi was delighted with such arrangements. But as soon as Xiao Jinghua stepped out of the number 1 courtyard, Lu Chensheng and his partner were summoned. Even Wang Cheng'en was dragged in by He Yin to lend a hand. Sitting on the sofa, Cheng'en scoffed, "Does it really need to be this elaborate? Just book a room at a hotel, and they LL set it up for you." He Yin shot him a look to silence him, and he complied, opting to invite 3 friends for a game of mahjong instead. Lu Chensheng smiled lightly. "Cheng'en, this is a matter of 2 people's intimacy. Otherwise, when your birthday comes around, let Yin Yin prepare something for you." He Yin shyly replied, "I have been thinking about it for a long time. I already have a rough idea." When Xian giggled, "Yin Yin, don't frighten Cheng'en. He's rather conventional, so there's no need to make it too artistic." Cheng'en lowered his head, disinterestedly playing his cards, nonchalantly responding, "Then I appreciate your efforts." Nan Yi jestingly remarked, "Yin Yin, it need not be overly complicated. Just craft a set of pure steel mahjong tiles for him, so when Wang Zhong throws them at someone, they will make a resounding impact." Wang Cheng'en chuckled briefly, "Dr. Zheng, please refrain from such harsh words." Early in the morning, Yang Kai drove Xiao Jinghua to the Shijiao courtyard. The sentry at the entrance stood at attention, saluting sharply upon seeing Xiao Jinghua's vehicle. Following routine, Yang Kai exited the car to check credentials, while Xiao Jinghua glanced around, recognizing that this display indicated his second uncle had returned. Within the courtyard, the elderly patriarch of the Xiao family and his second uncle, Xiao Jianjun, were engaged in casual conversation. Dressed in a light green uniform, though devoid of gold insignia on his shoulder, Xiao Jianjun's demeanor was stern, exuding an imposing authority akin to that of a lion leading a legion. Sitting alongside the patriarch, they appeared as if molded from the same caste. Despite their graying hair and the passage of time, the resolute spirit of the soldier remained unyielded. Xiao Jinghua approached to greet his elders before moving to the inner room to pay respects to his grandmother. Xiao Mu was engrossed in conversation with the matriarch. Her given name, Liao Qingru, once belonged to an artistic soldier in Xiao Changzhang's troop, cherished in her youth by her husband, and now supported in her middle age by her son. Liao Qingru bore no trace of fatigue typical of a woman in her 50s, instead radiating an elegance that seemed to deepen with the passage of time. Upon seeing the family's sole heir return, the two women, one elderly and one youthful, were filled with joy. The matriarch grasped Xiao Jinghua's hand, showering him with inquiries. Though over 80, her mind remained sharp, subtly urging Xiao Jinghua for a great-grandson. Eventually, she produced a thick envelope from a drawer, pressing it into his hands, saying, "This is for my great-grandson. If you can ensure I can hold him, there will be even more." Xiao Jinghua smirked. "Given my age, you still gift me red envelopes?" Liao Qingru, aware only of his divorce and not the intricacies of the conglomerate, reproached him. "Now you feel unworthy of receiving?" Xiao Jinghua, with a profound gaze, smiled at his mother, who felt perplexed under his scrutiny as she nudged him. "Am I mistaken in speaking to you?" He patiently reassured the matriarch. "Grandmother, let me converse with my mother for a moment. Please sit." He then patted the envelope in his hand, offering a warm smile. "I shall accept this on behalf of your great-grandson and pass it to his mother." Hearing this, the matriarch's laughter crinkled the corners of her eyes. Xiao Jinghua then called his mother into another room, speaking in a neutral tone. "You and Dad sought out an E in private back then, didn't you?" Liao Qingru was taken aback, scrutinizing her son's expression and realizing he was aware, her face flushed with embarrassment. "Dong dong, that matter was indeed a misstep on your father's and my part, but it was done with your best interests in mind." Xiao Jinghua sighed. "Mother, you constantly urge me for a grandchild, yet if you and Dad had not orchestrated this, your grandchild would already be over 2 years old." Liao Qingru, momentarily stunned, replied, "That girl never mentioned it back then." Xiao Jinghua maintained a light smile as he coldly remarked, "You should understand her character. You did not cherish her. No matter how esteemed the Xiao family is, she would not care." Liao Qingru grasped her son's arm, her expression serious. "Is that why Jianjun arranged for you to be with someone else? Did you offend the Shen family because of Nanny?" Xiao Jinghua scoffed. "The Shen family is ambitious and has no connection to Yi. Right now, unity is paramount. They despise me because of a potential loss of power." He affectionately draped his arm around his mother, saying, "Didn't you always like her? If your son is happy, wouldn't that bring you joy?" Liao Qingru, irritated, twisted her son's arm. "Is this not nonsense? We all believed you were settled in marriage, yet you still cannot overcome this hurdle." Xiao Jinghua, unusually defiant towards his elders, stated, "Mother, if we are to speak of my true mischief over the years, this is the only instance. I simply cannot surmount this obstacle. Previously I couldn't, and now it is even more daunting." Liao Qingru gazed at her son's resolute demeanor, rendered speechless. With the family rarely gathered, Xiao Jinghua was busy, and Xiao Jianjun, stationed at the southern military district, remained under the scrutiny of countless eyes. As the hot dishes were served, the two elder generals discussed matters within the military district, coinciding with the tumultuous period that stirred public anxiety over various affiliation issues. The two leaders inquired about the changes in Xiao Jinghua's conglomerate, as the elder Xiao had recently experienced unsettling omens, which, given his age, led him to superstitions. He sternly advised his grandson, "Before next year's conference, take some people with you when you go out. Always be vigilant of unseen forces." Xiao Jinghua responded with a smile. "Grandfather, please do not worry about such matters." The elder Xiao cautioned, "Be wary, a cornered rabbit will bite." Xiao Jinghua lowered his gaze, reflecting, "The Shen family is hardly a cornered rabbit." Meanwhile, his second uncle remained unfazed, as a seasoned leader, having weathered many storms. Furthermore, Xiao Jinghua, wielding significant power in recent years, had wholly adopted the Xiao family's traditional approach. Xiao Xiling took little issue with these matters, merely concerned about the underhanded tactics. Having deliberately reassigned a few personnel to assist him, having occupied a high position for an extended period, human sentiments had long since faded, with alliances formed solely for gain, dissipating once the advantage was exhausted. The meal unfolded in a harmonious atmosphere, with Xiao Xiling's principle being to act cautiously but decisively when the opportunity arose. The elder Xiao merely emphasized ensuring personal safety, advocating for a tempered approach in urgent matters. The three men spoke lightly, yet their demeanor left Liao Qingru feeling anxious. After sending her son far from the courtyard, she still felt compelled to ask, "Is she in good health?" Chapter 43. After the gunshot, when Xian gazed out the window as dark clouds loomed overhead, idly adjusting the light cord and lamenting, "The weather is rather bothersome. It's about to snow again." Lu Chunxing gently took the golden lamp from her hands, saying softly, "You need not fuss. Take a break. We're almost done." He Yin adjusted the angle of the projector, turning to Nan Yi, "Sister Yi, does this position work for you?" Everything progressed as Nan Yi envisioned, awaiting the moment to ensnare him. Whether it was the weighty clouds inducing an unsettling feeling or her own anxious heart, Nan Yi became distracted. She tossed aside the last candle, glanced at the time, and with a playful grin, declared, "When Xian, I'm off to fetch him. Would you like to join?" Wang Qingyan fixated on his phone screen, scoffing, "Don't be hypocritical, we won't go." It's perfect timing for you to have your moment downstairs before coming up. He Yin chimed in sharply, Wang Cheng'an. Only then did Wang Cheng'an lift his head, looking at her with confusion, while He Yin, exasperated, exclaimed, You're not working, and still making snide remarks. Wang Cheng'an actually locked his phone screen, sprawling languidly on the sofa, and playfully asked, What do you want me to do, Yin Yin? Just tell me, and I shall comply. His demeanor was that of a carefree rogue. Nanny checked the time and, after a quick touch-up, opted for a ride instead of driving herself, preparing to surprise him at Jinhua Group. Upon stepping out of the lobby, the chilly, damp air seeped into her collar, sending shivers down her spine. In the winter of Beichuan, a fine drizzle fell like mist, washing the roadside stone foundation, which shimmered like fish scales. Suddenly feeling a wave of loneliness, in the drizzly evening devoid of sunlight. She could no longer bear to wait and longed to see her beloved. In the car, she dialed Xiao Jinghua's number. His voice rang clear and cheerful. I've just left the group. Park at the XXX gas station, and I will come to pick you up. Nan Yi responded eagerly, the fleeting sense of unease dissipating. Today, she rarely adorned herself with perfume, a subtle fragrance of jasmine intertwined with the rich undertones of ambergris, reflecting her unrestrained state of mind. They transcended their former selves, embracing one another anew. Everything unfolded seamlessly. She even managed to evade the evening rush hour, the vehicle safely delivering her to her destination. The wind was brisk as she donned a caramel-colored woolen coat with a hood, beneath which lay a white knitted ensemble that accentuated her elongated swan-like neck. In the prime of her youth, her gaze was unwaveringly resolute. At the gas station, a few cars were lined up. She strolled past the vehicles, pushing open the convenience store door, drawing the attention of passers-by with her captivating beauty that compelled them to steal glances. The rain fell heavily, its rhythmic patter against the glass of the convenience store creating a melancholic ambience, saturating the girl's heart with a chill of anticipation. That chill persisted until she spotted Xiao Jinghua's black Audi entering the gas station, akin to a ray of light dispersing the gloom. An involuntary smile graced her lips, reminiscent of a playful squirrel, as she quickened her pace towards him. Through the dim glass, upon catching sight of her, the man opened the car door to greet her. In the passenger seat sat his secretary, Wu Fei, who was still engaged in discussing work matters with Xiao Jinghua. This was Wu Fei's first glimpse of a legendary heroine from behind the obscure glass. The winter rain, cold and persistent, mingled with the chemical scent of the gas station, while the earthy aroma in the air seemed to intensify, betraying an underlying tension. This moment evidently marked a romantic opportunity for the protagonists to embrace one another, yet it simultaneously became a time of peril for those lurking in the shadows. A dark Santana suddenly veered in front of Xiao Jinghua's car, and the passenger door swung open before the vehicle had even come to a halt. The gunman emerged, executing his actions with a fluidity born of repetition. Facing the assailant, Nanny could barely discern the man's attire. Only the firearm remained vividly clear in her mind. The swiftest thought that crossed her mind was Xiao Jinghua. Before she could even utter a cry, in a flash, she forcefully pushed the man who sought to embrace her away. At the moment the gun discharged, Nanny felt herself being violently thrust down. A deafening roar filling her ears, her vision blurring as she perceived the chaos of fleeing patrons in the gas station, akin to a mere soundtrack in a television scene. The assailant aimed for a second shot, but was swiftly subdued by 4 robust men emerging from a black jeep. The Santana's driver had yet to exit the gas station when he was intercepted. Xiao Jinghua narrowly evaded the attack, but at the instant of the gunfire, blood surged to the top of his head, and he felt an overwhelming chill envelop him. Nan Yi, propelled to the ground by the force of the shot, left Xiao Jinghua feeling as though his heart had ceased to beat. Blood rapidly spread across the caramel fabric of her coat. In a frenzy, Xiao Jinghua rushed to catch her, a metallic taste filling his throat, his mind buzzing with chaos as Yang Kai and Wu Fei emerged from the vehicle. Alerted by the commotion, Nanny steadied herself, sensing that half her body had gone numb. She felt no pain, momentarily doubting her reality until she glanced down to see the spreading bloodstain. This instinctive reaction, once relaxed, brought forth a wave of dizziness, causing her to surrender to the softness of her surroundings, her gaze becoming unfocused. Xiao Jinghua lifted her into the car, commanding Yang Kai to hasten to the hospital. He removed her coat, revealing the white knitted ensemble now soaked in blood, and tore at the collar to unveil her right shoulder, where a gruesome wound lay exposed. Flesh charred and raw, the faint sweetness of her perfume could no longer mask the metallic scent of blood. Under the pressure of the wound, pain jolted Nan Yi back to consciousness, the handkerchief quickly turning crimson. As she opened her eyes, she noticed Xiao Jinghua's expression, though composed, was pallid and his hand trembled involuntarily against the cloth. She attempted to raise her hand to touch him, yet it felt weightless, her lips parting to whisper, "Do not worry, I am a doctor." It did not hit a vital area. He would not heed her words, pressing down on the handkerchief, desperately wishing for the bleeding to cease, his lips barely curving into a reassuring smile as he urged her, "Do not speak, conserve your strength. We will soon arrive at the hospital." At that moment, he had already selected a date for the reckoning against their adversaries. Yang Kai had careened through several red lights, while Wu Fei, holding a box of tissues, turned to observe Xiao Jinghua, witnessing his first moment of panic. Having accompanied him for several years, attending countless banquets and events, her impression of him had always been of an aloof and ruthless leader, seemingly indifferent to the allure of any beautiful companion. Yet now, Xiao Jinghua was no longer an untouchable deity but a man burdened by earthly desires and emotions. Nan Yi leaned against him, his shirt already stained with her blood. Xiao Jinghua remained silent, his gaze fixed on the road ahead. They were swiftly ushered into the operating room. As the door to the surgery closed behind them, Nan Yi's clarity sharpened. She grasped Xiao Jinghua's hand with her left, her pale face breaking into a gentle smile, reminiscent of blooms in the wilderness. Her voice soft. Dong Dong Gij, happy birthday. Xiao Jinghua's eyes reddened, steadying his voice. Do not be afraid. I will be here waiting for you. At the moment the surgical doors closed before him, he was transported back in time to a few years prior, when she had similarly lain in an operating room. A sensation of helplessness and loss of control flooding over him like a swarm of ants gnawing at his bones, igniting the darkest corners of his heart. At that moment, his phone rang, the news from Xiao Leizizi arriving with alarming swiftness. Jinghua, how are you? Xiao Jinghua steadied his emotions, responding, Grandfather, I am fine. The bullet did not strike me. Xiao Leizizi sighed in relief before sternly advising, since it has come to this, it is best to sever ties completely without leaving any room for compromise. Xiao Jinghua replied coldly and resolutely, I understand. Once the call ended, he dialed Yang Kai, inquiring, have we captured the perpetrator? Yang Kai promptly responded, we apprehended him at the gas station. He discarded the gun, and we retrieved it. Xiao Jinghua stated in a low voice, keep a close watch on him. Do not let anything go awry. Meanwhile, Wu Fei busied herself with Nan Yi's hospital admission paperwork. Xiao Jinghua stood at the door of the operating room, unable to sit still, feeling an internal fire that dried his throat. Wu Fei timidly approached, offering him a bottle of water and a pack of wet wipes, whispering, Chairman Xiao, you should clean yourself up. Only then did he notice the bloodstains smeared across his shirt, the darkened coagulated blood on his hands. He refused to leave, sitting down to tend to himself with the wipes. Once seated, the tension that had coiled within him unraveled, cascading into countless streams that overwhelmed his senses. The wipes became stained with blood, as if they could never be cleansed. He lowered his head, sitting in silence as a fog enveloped his vision. Wu Fei quietly stood, retreating to a distance, unable to endure the oppressive atmosphere surrounding her boss any longer. The red light of the operating room remained illuminated. Bai Huanming called Xiao Jinghua, are you alright? Hearing this news nearly terrified me. Xiao Jinghua paused before replying, Nan Yi took the bullet for me. Bai Huanming's voice rose. How is the girl? Xiao Jinghua instructed, recall Wang Qingheng from Nandu, we can begin our plan. Bai Huanming, visibly shaken, asked, are you planning a recovery mission? Xiao Jinghua gritted his teeth, replying with venom, they plot to usurp state-owned assets. Since Shenjia's route has failed, Shun Jinyan is constantly attempting to usurp my position. By doing this, you have severed the ties of friendship established by our forebears. The hearts of men have grown cold, and such bonds have long been eroded by self-interest. Bai Huanming suddenly recalled and began to murmur, by the way, Zhang Zhongquan seems to have been getting quite close to the Shen family lately. They are planning to expand Lao Zhang's factory, and Tianhai is looking for a new site, acquiring 3,000 mu of land to build some new type renewable energy refining enterprise. Xiao Jinghua appeared to regain his composure. Has Cheng'an been involved in their recent activities? Bai Huanming immediately understood his implication. No, given your relationship with the Shen family. Cheng'an is far too astute for that. Xiao Jinghua frowned. That's not right. Huanming, where is Zhang Zhongquan's cash flow currently? Bai Huanming realized, isn't Cheng'an dealing in futures? I won't say more for now. He hung up the phone and swiftly called Wang Cheng'an. Cheng'an, where are you? Why haven't you returned yet? You aren't out on a romantic escapade, are you? On the other end, Tian's playful voice chimed in. Xiao Jinghua, in a state of urgency, asked him, you're working on empty tickets with Lao Zhang, right? Wang Cheng'an was momentarily taken aback, then chuckled. Who told you that? He has legitimate production qualifications and reasonable procurement. At that moment, Xiao Jinghua was consumed by a fiery impatience. Do you have genuine procurement documentation? Wang Cheng'an fell silent. And Xiao Jinghua sneered. Cheng'an, you've gone too far. Speak honestly. How can I assist you moving forward? You've entangled yourself in the Shun family's web. Without your maneuver, they wouldn't be so audacious. Wang Cheng'an remained unconcerned. What can they do? Do they dare to kill? Xiao Jinghua coldly replied, Nan Yi has been shot. The phone line fell silent. Only the sound of a metallic lighter flicking could be heard. At that moment, the doctor emerged to call for the family, and Xiao Jinghua instructed, you should leave tonight, go out for a while, and return when I notify you. After the surgery, the patient remained in the operating room for a while, awaiting the anesthesia to wear off. The orthopedic surgeon, after much deliberation, cautiously informed Xiao Jinghua, the surgery was very successful. Dr. Zheng is fortunate, as no organs were harmed. However, the rotator cuff injury may affect the use of the right arm. The recovery will determine the outcome. Xiao Jinghua, momentarily dull-witted, inquired, "What do you mean?" The doctor elaborated, "You should be aware that neurosurgery requires precise operations. Even the slightest deviation can affect the results. Whether Dr. Zheng can return to the operating table will depend on his recovery." Suddenly, the attending physician observed the frost on Xiao Jinghua's face consumed by fury. With a loud crash, his phone was flung against the wall, shattering into pieces. He buried one hand under his clothing, his chest heaving violently. The doctor stepped back in fright, and Yang Kai hurried forward to comfort him. "Brother, Nan hasn't he come out yet? Please don't lose your temper." The attending physician quickly intervened. "Yes, Mr. Xiao, this is all a matter of probability. We, as doctors, must clearly explain to the family that the future is uncertain." Xiao Jinghua's forehead veins throbbed, his eyes burning red, and he gritted out a few words. "All right, I understand." He turned and wandered aimlessly around the hall, lighting a cigarette. With no one daring to approach him, smoking was prohibited in the lobby. Wu Fei had been sent by Yang Kai to buy a phone. Leaving only the two of them, Xiao Jinghua remained silent, his rage palpable, as if ready to ignite anyone who crossed his path, his complexion a deep shade of anger. Yang Kai vaguely recalled that Xiao Jinghua had lost control like this several years ago when Nan Yi had a falling out with him. That day he had instinctively reached for his gun, only to be disarmed. After an indeterminate time, Nan Yi was wheeled out, her upper body swathed in stark white bandages. Still groggy and not fully conscious, her face pale, lying on the gurney and looking particularly pitiful. By the time Lu Chunsheng and his wife arrived, she had already been settled into a premium ward. When Xian, visibly pregnant, burst into tears. "Huazi, she was perfectly fine this afternoon. How could such a thing happen?" Lu Chunsheng embraced his wife, worriedly glancing at Xiao Jinghua, well aware of his temperament. He knew that any attempts to placate him would be futile, so he gently suggested, "Whatever it is, let's wait until Yi wakes up to discuss it." Xiao Jinghua's face remained dark, the little person lying in the room, though not fully awake, could still vaguely hear their conversation, so he chose to remain silent. Lu Chunsheng then asked, "Does your uncle know about this?" Xiao Jinghua, suppressing his fury, could barely manage a reply. "Emicheng." After a moment, he coldly asserted, "You should take Wen Xian home. It's inconvenient for her to stay here while pregnant." Lu Chunsheng recognized this as a dismissal and did not press further. Wen Xian approached the suite's inner room, holding Nan Yi's hand, tears streaming down her face as she choked out, "Yi, take care of yourself. We will come to see you tomorrow. Don't be afraid. Huazi is here with you." As the anesthesia began to wear off, Nan Yi became more aware, managing a faint smile, yet her tongue felt thick, making it hard to articulate a single sentence. Just as Lu Chunsheng stepped out of the hospital room, he hesitated, anxiously advising Xiao Jinghua, "Always leave room for maneuver. Avoid bringing trouble upon yourself." Xiao Jinghua's frostbitten expression forced a strained smile in acknowledgement. Once they were alone in the room, Xiao Jinghua moved a chair to the bedside and sat beside her. Her right arm was suspended and immobilized. Her face was a ghastly white, blood-matted hair clinging together in clumps, presenting a disheveled appearance. He touched her left hand, feeling its icy chill. He had many words caught in his throat, yet none could escape. Nan Yi raised her hand, attempting to touch his face. He leaned closer, the coolness brushing against his cheek, extinguishing the inferno within his soul. He softly inquired, "Does it hurt?" Nan Yi smiled, her speech slightly slurred. "Not at all." Xiao Jinghua's heart twisted. He had played with guns as a child. A bullet passing through would inevitably cause pain. Fortunately, the assailant had used a micro-browning. Otherwise, it was unimaginable what the injuries would have been. Nanny chuckled, "Your clothes are all dirty. Go home and change." Xiao Jinghua shook his head. He did not wish to leave. Nan Yi persistently pleaded, "It's so close to Xiehe. You could be back in 15 minutes. Xiao Jinghua gazed at her, feigning indifference, yet his heart surged with emotion, an overwhelming sorrow washing over him. He maintained a facade of nonchalance, though his voice trembled slightly. "You are far too reckless. Do you think any occasion is appropriate?" Yet Nan Yi seemed unfazed, her eyes glistening with clarity. She had repeatedly prayed in her heart, grateful to have seen the assailant. She dared not contemplate what might have transpired had Xiao Jinghua fallen that day. Seeing her silent, he sighed deeply and hoarsely questioned, "If your arm had been shattered, how would you manage surgery in the future?" Nanny blinked, resolutely replying, "Even if I could never return to the operating table, it would never matter more than your life." Xiao Jinghua looked at the girl before him, recalling how she instinctively pushed him away when the gun fired. That glance held a flicker of hope, igniting a blaze in the depths of his heart, capable of incinerating his last thread of reason. Although he appeared calm on the surface, turmoil raged within him. He turned to the bathroom, filled a basin with warm water, dampened a white towel, and, under Nan Yi's astonished gaze, gently wiped away the congealed blood from her hair. Observing his somber expression, she teased him, "It seems that when I grow old and am bedridden, you will still be here to serve me." Xiao Jinghua replied gloomily, "Stop dreaming. Recover quickly so you can make it up to me." Nanny pouted, "How is that fair? You're so stingy." Xiao Jinghua cast her a sideways glance. "Beginning to ramble. Once you're well, we should register our marriage." If you take such risks again, I'd be fine as a widower. Nan Yi found herself quite pleased with his training. Gesturing with her left hand, Xiao Jinghua grasped it and inquired, "What do you desire?" The little girl, with a mischievous glint in her eyes, replied, "It's you, Xiao Jinghua. For you, I will live well and one tea let you become a widower." This seemingly nonsensical jest, however, softened the austere lines of Xiao Jinghua's brow. Chapter 45. My love is sufficient to accompany you through a lifetime. It was only upon entering his home that Xiao Jinghua realized the true purpose behind Nan Yi's insistence on his return. Passing through the entryway, he was greeted by a celestial display of golden lights, akin to a river of stars. Warm, amber-hued glimmers streamed down from the motorized curtains of the second floor, cascading like the Milky Way flowing through the earthly realm. Small candles irregularly formed a path, adorned with sapphire blue balloons and pristine white flowers, resembling clouds reflected upon an endless sea. At the path's end stood a projector in sleep mode. Xiao Jinghua navigated through the shimmering sea of lights and seated himself before the sofa, quietly activating the projector. The room's illumination softened, enhancing the brilliance of the starry expanse. The large screen displayed a montage of clips, expertly edited yet rich in substance. The crimson walls and orange tiles of the Forbidden City were depicted, with golden ginkgo leaves cascading in layers. The white archways of ancient structures radiated a timeless charm, reminiscent of the serene waters of Tsinghua University. The footage showcased faces transitioning from unfamiliar to familiar, spanning various ages and vocations, all conveying a shared message. "Happy birthday, Director Xiao." "Happy birthday, Mr. Xiao." Lu Qinxing's warm and elegant demeanor appeared. "Huazi, happy birthday." Wang Qing'an's uncooperative attitude chimed in. "Buddy, happy birthday." Qin Xinghua, flamboyant and carefree, exclaimed, "Huazi, happy new life." Ultimately, the camera focused on Nan Yi, clad in a white coat, standing in the office of the Department of Neurosurgery, accompanied by Zhao Jing's voice. Nan Yi appeared somewhat shy before the lens, tentatively asking, "Is it starting?" Xiao Jinghua chuckled deeply, a lingering sweetness blooming within him. Behind the screen, several girls chimed in unison, "Let's begin." Then, Nan Yi flashed a playful smile, solemnly declaring, "Xiao Jinghua, over these 3 years, I have treated numerous patients. Although it is my duty, I believe every act of healing accumulates blessings. I now bestow all my blessings upon you. Since I first stepped onto the operating table, aside from wishing for successful surgeries, I harbored another desire, for the one I cherish most, to enjoy a lifetime of peace and prosperity. You must live to a ripe old age so that I can accompany you for as long as possible. Xiao Jinghua, happy birthday. I want to tell you that I love you, a love profound enough to endure through all the days of your life." A chill coursed through Xiao Jinghua's body. This girl was willing to pledge her very life to fulfill her promise. As the video concluded, a confession from the characters Luo and Xia in the game League of Legends played. Suddenly, Xiao Jinghua understood why she had abruptly ceased playing at a certain point that day. She had tirelessly endeavored to achieve the top rank in the national server, ensuring her name remained prominently displayed. "Happy birthday, Xiao Jinghua," glowing persistently in the game. In the game, Luo and Xia embraced, their orange and deep purple wings fluttering behind them. Luo asked, "Will you marry me today?" Xia responded, "Ask me again tomorrow." Luo pressed, "Why do I ask daily? Yet you never say you will?" Xia replied, "Because then I won't hear you ask again." The atmosphere fell into a profound silence. Xiao Jinghua inhaled deeply, yet could not quell the turmoil within his chest. He bowed his head, reaching for his cigarette case, only to discover it was empty. He recalled a moment when Nan Yi had earnestly assured him, "I will find a way to stand beside you, making everyone believe we are a perfect match." He thought of the young girl who had diligently studied for years, proudly striving to stand shoulder to shoulder with him. Yet, all of that could be for naught. And his heart raced uncontrollably, a suffocating sensation surging through his veins, causing tears to well in his eyes. He crumpled the empty cigarette case in his hand, countless dark thoughts clawing at his reason. Suddenly, he rose, cold sweat cascading down his back, his shirt drenched. He hastily changed clothes and rushed back to the hospital. Countless stars were extinguished, as if some light within life had dimmed. Xiao Jinghua spent an extensive period on the phone en route, finally returning to the inpatient department. Upon opening the ward door, he was met with the rhythmic beeping of the hospital's heart monitor, where the small figure beneath the white blanket furrowed her brow in quiet slumber. He felt a wave of relief wash over him. The tumultuous emotions that had churned throughout the day left him with a throbbing headache, and he collapsed onto the sofa. The first night after Nan Yi's injury was the hardest. Even the slightest noise could awaken her. When she opened her eyes and saw Xiao Jinghua, he relaxed his furrowed brow, his voice hoarse. "Why are you awake? Does your wound hurt?" Nan Yi's right shoulder had begun to swell, and she felt pain throughout her body. Upon seeing Xiao Jinghua, a ripple of a smile danced at her lips. "Are you satisfied with your birthday gift?" He gazed at the glaringly white bandages, an even deeper sense of remorse filling his eyes. He decided to shed his jacket, slipping into the bed beside her, carefully avoiding her injured side, wrapping his arms around her. She giggled. "This bed is so short. How can you lie here? Besides, Aren't you the one who hates hospitals, finding them unclean? Nan Yi's warmth was notably different from usual, and Xiao Jinghua's heart finally settled, finding solid ground. A smile graced his pale face. I watched the video. Now the entire department knows you have a boyfriend. Nanny laughed. Is Director Xiao afraid of being found out? Xiao Jinghua whispered in her ear. It's good to be known. It avoids misunderstandings with male seniors and actors. Nanny chuckled. When did you become so insecure? Xiao Jinghua kissed her forehead, his voice low. We are simply too good together. Nanny giggled, a sweet sensation blossoming within her heart. Xiao Jinghua closed his eyes, teasing her. Next time, could you let the credit go to those who are paid? Nan Yi nuzzled his chin, the slight stubble tickling her, and playfully pushed him. You can't possibly sleep here. Dr. Lee from orthopedics will come for rounds at 8, and I'll become infamous. She tilted her head, causing a pang of pain at her wound, witnessing the familiar light-hearted smile at the corner of Xiao Jinghua's lips. There's no need to worry. It's perfectly justified. He then tugged at the blanket on her side, the two of them nestling together on the small bed, reminiscent of their time in the makeshift shelters after the Wenchuan earthquake. In the rain-soaked morning of Beichuan, the air was crisp and the sunlight blazed. However, the first visitor to the ward was not the attending physician, but Zhang Ma from the courtyard. The elderly lady, feigning to have cooked chicken soup for a long time, entered to find her young master curled up, sharing a bed with the patient. Zhang Ma placed the thermos in the living room and playfully tapped the door. Dong dong. Why are you bullying Yi? It's so cramped, you could go home. Xiao Jinghua mumbled sleepily. Zhang Ma, close the door. The elderly lady smiled silently, gently closing the door. Chapter 45. Even he has times of humble pleading. In the ensuing 5 working days at the 8-share exchange, a war without gunfire unfolded, devoid of bloodshed, yet littered with fallen bodies. On Monday evening, Bai Huanming waited for a considerable time in the lobby of the Beichuan Hotel, spotting Xiao Jinghua arriving. Weary from his journey, he promptly approached. I checked. If this matter with Zhang Zhongquan breaks out, it would be classified as issuing false invoices. It's not a death sentence, but it could lead to life imprisonment. Xiao Jinghua, with a cold demeanor, ascended the stairs, muttering to himself that once he extracted Cheng'an, their fate would be of no concern to him. Bai Huanming followed him into the elevator, inquiring about the situation. Pausing for a moment, he solemnly replied that she was not well. Bai Huanming pressed further, asking if her condition was severe and whether there would be any lasting repercussions. In an instant, a strange smile crept upon Salad's lips as he coldly remarked that the Shun family had exhausted their last card. Bai Huanming felt a chill run down his spine. Realizing that Xiao Jinghua had shed all restraint now that the Shun family had reached this point, he understood Xiao Zhao. Life is a duality, and this man had never merely possessed a pure heart. Nan Yi had successfully deceived Director Li of the orthopedics department, secretly perusing her medical records. In the warmth of her hospital room, her heart turned cold, half filled with despair and half clinging to hope. She returned to her bed, replaying the traumatic experience of her injuries countless times in her mind. The lingering issues were increasingly alarming until Meng Zi, upon receiving the news, rushed in, pulling her back from the brink of her nightmares. Meng Zi first confirmed that she was not in immediate danger, then exhaled in relief, only to see the pale-faced girl before her, tears welling in her eyes, bloodshot and distressed. She exclaimed, questioning why they could not lead a normal life and why they needed to enact a scene akin to Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Nan Yi, bemused, furrowed her brow and attempted to comfort her, assuring her that she was fine and would still be able to attend her wedding in a few days. Meng Zi felt embarrassed for crying, wiping her tears and feigning indifference, stating that it was fortunate she hadn't chosen her as a bridesmaid, fearing a sudden medical emergency, which now seemed ironic since Nan Yi had ended up in emergency care herself. Nan Yi chuckled softly, her heart laden with unspoken thoughts, suggesting that perhaps she would no longer have to worry about sudden emergencies in the future. Meng Zi, in a daze, foolishly asked if this meant she was planning to resign after her injury, or if she intended to return home to live as a young mistress. Nan Yi nodded vigorously, considering it a feasible idea. After 3 days in the hospital, Nanny had been visited by every colleague in her department, each offering hollow words of concern. Yet beneath their seemingly genuine inquiries lay an unsettling depth that left her feeling uneasy. At that moment, Zhao Jing had lost all interest in probing Saoda's identity, her hesitance only serving to further irritate Nanny. Director Li, with a grave expression, advised her to focus on recovery before discussing her position, assuring her that there would be a place for her when she was well again. It felt somewhat reassuring, yet its effectiveness was minimal. On the 3rd day, Nanny stealthily returned to Yihao Courtyard, seeking solitude. When Luan Xinqing received a call from Xiao Jinghua, an inexplicable panic surged within him. As he could not fathom the nature of their connection, he recalled their previous encounter, which had been the only instance where Xiao Jinghua silently sat across from him, allowing him to ramble on for 20 minutes without uttering a word. Xiao Jinghua's expression had shifted numerous times, yet he merely lowered his head to sip tea. Ultimately, the conversation had become a one-sided monologue from Luan Xinqing, and as he poured out his tangled emotions, Xiao's demeanor remained unchanged, though his voice was as cold as ice, suggesting that his patience had reached its limit. He stated, please contact your uncle and arrange for an overseas specialist for Nanny. I could approach him directly, but that would be rather inappropriate. Xiao Jinghua had meticulously crafted the most humble request, fearful of allowing his words to become too sharp or revealing. Luan Xinqing, astonished, blurted out, are you still Xiao Jinghua? Xiao Jinghua, adopting a demeanor of supplication, forced a smile and helplessly replied, I beg of you. That evening, as the night deepened, Xiao Jinghua convened in the office with key stakeholders, including Wang Chengheng and Bai Huanming, to discuss matters, only to be bombarded with calls from Xinjiai. Yang Kai observed him, feeling somewhat conflicted, as he had spent years adeptly handling calls from unrelated women, yet this particular one was a legendary nuisance. Around 1 a.m, likely after Xinjiai had returned from a night out in Korea, a soft voice spoke in gentle Korean, prompting her to tease, Xiao Jia, are you planning to sever ties with the Shin family? Xiao Jinghua pinched the bridge of his nose, his voice dripping with impatience as he replied, Jai, this is a matter between me and your family, unrelated to any promises I made to you. Xinjiai scoffed, then I must thank you for your restraint. Xiao Jinghua, your ingratitude will lead to retribution. Xiao Jinghua, unfazed and devoid of concern, retorted, by the new year, you'll be 29. You should understand your family's affairs better. Ask your father whether the Xiao family owes you anything after all this. As the call ended, Bai Huanming, unable to suppress his frustration, glanced at him and remarked that his conversations with Xinjiai were akin to a duck speaking to a chicken. Within the company, everyone was aware that Xiao was navigating treacherous waters. Had it not been for a lingering sense of dignity, he would have already severed ties. The Shun family had yet to provide him with their extensive collection of incriminating materials, yet Xinjiai continued to speak recklessly, leaving Bai Huanming occasionally exasperated on behalf of this dramatic young lady. Xiao Jinghua chose not to argue, getting up to leave, but Bai Huanming stopped him, urging him to remain at the company for a while longer since he needed to return to the group in the morning. Xiao Jinghua replied with a smile, I have a dedicated daughter-in-law in the hospital. Finally, Yang Kai spoke up, informing him that Dr. Zheng had returned to Yihao Courtyard. Xiao Jinghua furrowed his brow and asked when this had happened and whether she could be discharged, deeming it reckless. Yang Kai quickly clarified that Dr. Zheng believed it was inconvenient to stay in the hospital, as Madame Liao had arranged for a nurse to visit regularly for injections and dressing changes. Bai Huanming quipped that Madame Liao seemed quite concerned about her daughter-in-law. Xiao Jinghua waved his hand, signaling Yang Kai to drive back, contemplating that although he had managed to suppress the true medical records, he was uncertain whether he could keep it from her. He worried about how much Nan Yi truly understood about her condition. She appeared cheerful and carefree every day, but he feared that beneath her vibrant facade lay a sorrowful countenance. As Rao Jinghua unlocked the password door, Zhang Ma emerged from the guest room, observing his disheveled appearance and the lingering smell of smoke. The elderly lady gently chided, you should wash up, that smoke will suffocate the girl. Xiao Jinghua, lacking the energy to engage in banter, simply inquired, how is she? She had a slight fever during the day yesterday, but Dr. Zhang kept her company for a while, and she improved by evening. He quickly showered, changed into his sleepwear, and pushed open the bedroom door. Nan Yi, having slept lightly over the past few days, stirred awake at the sound of the door. Propped up by an uncomfortable pillow, she lay on her side, and in the dim light, she slightly lifted her eyelids, sleepily murmuring, you've been working hard lately, coming home so late every day. Her voice was soft, a languid whisper. Xiao Jinghua lay down beside her, slipping into the covers and taking her warm hand in his, feeling a sense of calm wash over him as he gently asked, are you bored staying at home? Nan Yi's hand stiffened momentarily in his palm, her eyelids fluttering shut as she concealed her emotions within her gaze, half-jokingly replying, if I stay at home all the time, will you grow tired of me? Xiao Jinghua, sensing her hesitation, felt a pang in his heart and feigned nonchalance to entice her. Would you like to stay at home and have a child for me? Nan Yi chuckled softly in his ear, asking whether he preferred a boy or a girl. Xiao Jinghua playfully responded, why not have both? They could keep each other company. After a long pause, he heard her exhale deeply, tinged with a nasal quality. As she remained nonchalant, that's true. Otherwise, what would I do with my time? Xiao Jing's heart sank, as if a small beast were rampaging within his chest, the intense unease finally becoming too much for him to bear. He gently cradled her neck, brushing against her lips, and kissed her fervently, hoping to kiss away her fears. The sharp scent of medical alcohol filling the air. The faint traces of tears had secretly hidden beneath the girl's pillow, startled by the sudden kiss. They could no longer remain concealed. Nan Yi, holding onto his lips, felt the bitter saltiness of her tears betray everything. Xiao Jinghua's palms soothed her back, resting against her forehead, reassuring her, do not be afraid. We will find the best doctor to treat you. No matter the method, I will ensure you recover. Nan Yi quietly sobbed. What if I become a useless person? Xiao Jinghua tightened his embrace, resting his chin in her hair. Providing her with an answer, Jinhua has 137 subsidiaries. Whatever you wish to pursue, I will fully support you. I have never believed you are someone who turns away from difficulties. If you stay at home, I will support you for a lifetime. Whatever industry you choose, I will assist you, and you will never start later than anyone else. She lifted her head, a hint of red in her eyes, a pang of sorrow striking her senses. Xiao Jinghua looked down at her, her pale face resembling a slice of moonlight beside the pillow. With a childlike curiosity, she asked, "Where do you have so many subsidiaries?" Xiao Jinghua replied domineeringly, "What do you think? Do you believe they are taking such enormous risks for nothing?" She broke into a smile, teasingly inquiring, "Are you particularly wealthy?" Xiao Jinghua patted her back repeatedly, as if discussing a trivial matter. "Recently, Lao Bai and the others have been adjusting the equity ratios. When the time comes, I will transfer some to you under your name." One sincerely wanted to give, while the other genuinely did not care. Nanny suddenly playfully bit his chin, leaving a gentle imprint on his jaw, declaring, "I don't want that. You belong to me, and everything of yours is mine." Xiao Jinghua let out a soft hum, swallowing hard, and suddenly pulled the blanket, completely obscuring the lone bedside lamp's light. In the pitch blackness, Nanny quietly exclaimed, "I am injured. You cannot bully me." Xiao Jinghua chuckled, holding her close, kissing her cheek lightly. "If you are injured, it is even harder to hide." The darkness enveloped them, with only their breaths clear amidst the obscurity. They playfully resisted one another, teasing for a full half-hour. As the playful banter continued, Nanny curled up in the blanket, retreating to one side of the bed, biting her lip and glaring at him, wishing to argue, her words soft. "Xiao Jinghua, why are you so annoying?" Xiao Jinghua, on the opposite side of the bed, laughed helplessly. "I want to be less annoying, but you must let me see." Such shamelessness was astounding. She remained silent, extending a long, delicate leg to hook around his waist. Xiao Jinghua chuckled softly, grasping her ankle, his fingertips teasing her soul. Nanny squeaked, "Ticklish." Xiao Jinghua leaned closer, pulling her in. Her slender leg clung to him, leaving Nan-yi with no means of escape, as retreat would lead to a fall. Their breaths were close, and Xiao Jinghua restrained himself, gazing at her, silence enveloping them. He warned softly, "Do not move. If you keep this up, I might truly bully you." A night of unrestrained passion. A fleeting spring night. This warmth after the calamity surpassed all riches. Chapter 47. Let me see who dares to touch her. Just as Xiao Jinghua was desperately seeking help, Old Master Xiao summoned him back to the west suburb estate, akin to a timely rain. Although Old Master Xiao was retired at home, the guards he had trained in his youth had now become regional officials. With a single phone call, he reached the military hospital and temporarily recalled the best retired trauma expert. The old man bluntly stated, "You are searching everywhere for treatment for gunshot wounds. No doctor can surpass the trauma specialists at the military hospital." He had never been particularly concerned about his grandchildren's marital matters. But this time he specifically instructed, once the girl is healed, bring her back to see her grandfather. Xiao Jinghua's gloomy mood began to lift slightly. On November 24th, the wedding of Meng Zi and Meng Minglang was held as scheduled at the Guamao Hotel. Originally, Nan Yi was to help Meng Zi with the guest book at the entrance. But now she had to plead to even sit at the door to collect money. "My dear, since you are getting married, I must do something for you. Consider it my heartfelt blessing for your marriage." Only then did Meng Zi relent, repeatedly reminding her cousin to take good care of this patient. As the wedding was too busy, and her energy to attend to her was limited, Nan Yi sat at the guest table, munching on sunflower seeds while supervising her cousin Huang Yi, who was meticulously placing the red envelopes into a spare bag. Huang Yi thought to herself that her cousin had invited a grand gentleman, one who could not even count his money. Until Huang Yi saw Nan Yi toss a thick stack of red envelopes into the gift box, she felt that this grand gentleman was not so unhelpful after all. So when Luan Xinqing appeared at the wedding with Xu Tong, seeing his junior sister looking like a landlady, her slight rogue demeanor was likely due to spending too much time with someone, making it difficult to avoid the influence. Xu Tong was completely unaware of Nan Yi's injury. Upon seeing her appearance, a sense of maternal duty surged within her. Nan Yi pouted, feeling both love and helplessness towards the couple. "Sister-in-law, look at my brother's long face. You say he still has something to say?" Luan Xinqing, however, unusually replied coolly, "That is not a serious injury. If worse comes to worst, come with me to the Academy of Sciences. Doing research is also quite good." Nan Yi awkwardly replied, "I am just consulting. I must stay in surgery." Suddenly realizing something, Nanny asked, "Brother, how did you know about my injury?" The light glinted off the lenses on Luan Xinqing's nose as he glanced at her, casually saying, "Many in the medical field know, it's not a novel matter." Luan Xinqing surmised that if Xiao Jinghua continued to stir things up, probably all trauma experts nationwide would soon be aware. Nanny believed that Xiao Jinghua, being a high-ranking official and having been attacked, would certainly make headlines. Little did she know, such news had not even circulated among the onlookers' social circles and had been forcibly taken down by the Technical Investigation Department. That year, Qi Chen's Let Us Get Married was very popular. Some said marriage was the terminator of love, while others believed marriage was the sublimation of love. That tying the knot and building a love nest was every couple's aspiration. However, in reality, how many pairs truly married for love? How many merely discussed compatibility and could lead a mundane life? In those years, wedding venues began to feature floral decorations. Meng Zi's wedding was adorned with a plethora of pink and purple roses, the colors of a girl's dreams. At a wedding, some shed tears, some laughed. Some merely went through the motions, and some observed with cold eyes. Nanny watched from the sidelines, tearfully emotional, only to hear a guest at the same table laughing. Nowadays, young people spend so much on weddings. What is the use of such ostentation? The quality of life has no relation to how grand the wedding is. With tear-filled eyes, Nanny glared at the speaker. It was truly inappropriate to act immorally on such a joyous occasion. She turned the steamed fish on the table towards him, coldly stating, "You must love fish. Do pick out the bones." The person, completely oblivious to the underlying meaning, gratefully took a piece. Once the wedding ceremony concluded, Nanny felt too weary to continue, and along with Lan Xinqing and his wife, they exited the banquet, unexpectedly encountering Shen Jia, who had leisurely checked out and descended at noon. Shen Jia had just had an argument with Xiao Jinghua days prior and felt utterly unfulfilled upon suddenly seeing Nanny. She had already categorized her as an enemy akin to Xiao Jinghua, forgetting the camaraderie they had once shared over drinks, and she excitedly pushed away the handsome young man holding her waist, rushing towards Nanny with a slap. At that moment, numerous guests were departing, many of whom were affiliated with the medical field, some more acquainted than others. Nanny was momentarily taken aback. Had she been in her usual robust condition, she would have retaliated. However, with her right arm in a sling, her gaze fell upon Shen Jia, which caused her hesitation to deepen. Shen Jia stood at the entrance of the banquet hall like a firecracker, hurling cold jibes and scorn, her demeanor reflecting the poise expected of a lady of high standing. Yet her words were laced with the most piercing venom. "I once regarded you as a significant figure. What does having a doctorate mean if you are merely a homewrecker, inciting men to disrupt the Shen family and create chaos? Your ambition to ascend is outrageous, yet you feign the innocence of a virtuous woman." The guests seated with Nanny, who had previously been so eager to meddle in others' affairs, now paused to witness the spectacle, making no effort to conceal their commentary. This is a case of a mistress usurping the rightful position, leaving the legitimate party in disarray. Such a young lady lacks decorum. In front of her peers, Nanny felt her complexion shift between shades of red and pale. Shu Tong shielded her behind her, and Lan Xinqing furrowed his brow, wishing to remove the reckless young lady from the scene. "Miss Shun, if you have an issue, it need not be aired in public." Even Meng Zi, having hurriedly descended from the banquet with her gown in hand, her cheeks flushed with indignation, exclaimed, "Shen Jia, are you out of your mind? You and Xiao Jinghua are already divorced. What right do you have to create a scene?" Unyielding, Shen Jia retorted with a sneer, "Without her, we would not have divorced. Our families would not have fractured." Shen Jia firmly believed that the turmoil stemmed from the woman before her, stubbornly seeking to blame someone for her emotional turmoil. The young man beside Shen Jia, clearly just having shared her bed, was taken aback by her ferocious demeanor. The two seemed worlds apart, with him merely holding her back, fearful that she might embarrass herself further. Nanny gently pushed past Shu Tong, her expression impassive. "Jai, how can you possibly find relief?" She was no saint. Devoid of any desire to save the world, her only wish was to swiftly resolve the situation. Shen Jia's striking face contorted into a ghastly expression as she hissed, "The Shen family is barely clinging to life. How can you expect me to find relief? I want your life." Nanny could only chuckle wearily, wondering how. In this day and age, the Shen family had entangled itself with some nefarious force that resorted to threats of violence. Just as Shen Jia's erratic temperament clashed with Nanyi's steadiness, a chilling voice echoed from the end of the banquet's red carpet. "Try to lay a hand on her." Shen Jia turned to see the menacing figure of Xiao Jinghua, a shiver running down her spine. This was a side of him she had never witnessed before, embodying the authoritative figure spoken of by her family. When Xiao Jinghua received Meng Zi's call, he had just crossed the third ring bridge and abruptly turned back. Fresh from a meeting at the department, he drove recklessly, screeching to a halt at the entrance of the Guimao Hotel, leaving his engine running as he rushed into the lobby. On his way, he had contacted Xinjiani, succinctly instructing her to come to Guimao to collect her sister. Xinjiani, chuckling, replied, "Director Xiao, you're not using my sister as bait to lure me to Guimao, are you?" Xiao Jinghua's response was cold. "You'd better hurry. Otherwise, you may miss your chance." Xinjiani, mustering her courage, arrived with a throng of people, akin to the defeated Shi Chuba Wang retreating from the Battle of Wujiang. Upon reaching the designated hotel room, she found only Xiao Jinghua, while Nanyi had already been ushered away by Lan Xinqing. The brash demeanor of her sister faltered the moment she laid eyes on Xiao Jinghua's stern countenance. A sense of foreboding enveloped Xinjiani as she struggled to comprehend his intentions, a sly smile adorning her lips. "Director Xiao Jia is grown. There's no need for me to fetch her personally." Xiao Jinghua exhaled a plume of smoke, extinguishing the cigarette but amidst the white gravel, his expression unwavering, his gaze deep as the ocean, his tone cutting. "Xinjiani, do you care to guess why I summoned you?" Chapter 48. The unfiltered words of Xinjiani, "Do you care to guess why I summoned you?" A thin smile graced Xiao Jinghua's lips, causing Xinjiani to instinctively step back. Her lips parted, attempting to call for someone to enter. Yet, all she could see was Xiao Jinghua's frostbitten visage. His eyes entwined with crimson threads, his voice as if submerged in icy waters. "You'd best come in alone. We can settle our matters one by one." Meanwhile, Nan Yi sat in Luan Xinqing's car, counting the minutes in her mind, each second stretching like an eternity. Luan Xinqing offered reassurance from the front. "This is a public setting. Xinjiani won't do anything drastic." Nan Yi's fingers aimlessly fidgeted with the leather seat, recalling a previous incident at a gas station. Luan Xinqing replied dryly, "That time, Xinjiani was not present." Shu Tong clasped Nan Yi's cold, damp hand in hers, suggesting, "Since you're on leave, why not return home and spend time with your parents?" Nan Yi understood that they wished to distance her from this tumultuous scene, her emotions conflicted, with that person around. She was unlikely to leave. Before long, Xiao Jinghua's tall figure emerged from the hotel entrance, his right hand tucked into his pocket, striding toward the car to greet her. In a flurry, Nan Yi pushed the door open, forgetting her injury. Xiao Jinghua offered her a steadying hand, allowing her to stand firmly on the ground. A gust of urgency swept through Nan Yi as she asked, "Are you injured?" Xiao Jinghua smiled brightly, the winter afternoon sun illuminating him as he replied, "Come. I'll take you home." Zhao Gang, who had appeared at some point, stood dutifully behind his boss, carrying a bag. Nan Yi scrutinized him closely, noticing nothing amiss. Before bidding farewell to Luan Xinqing and his wife, climbing into the black Range Rover, Shu Tong inquired of her husband, "What was Director Xiao doing upstairs?" Luan Xinqing remained silent, his gaze sinking beneath the rim of his glasses, knowing Xiao Jinghua's penchant for revenge. As the car window slid down slightly, Xiao Jinghua reached for a cigarette in his pocket. Nan Yi, puzzled, asked, "What do you need? I can get it for you." Her left hand reached into the man's pocket, grasping a cigarette box, her fingers brushing against his firm muscles, a thrilling sensation. Xiao Jinghua regarded her with a light smile, prompting her to blush and turn away as she handed him the cigarette, which he accepted with his left hand. Nan Yi felt something was amiss and suddenly realized. She tugged at his right arm, exclaiming, "Xiao Jinghua, show me." At last, Xiao Jinghua relented, extending his right hand for her inspection. When Nan Yi turned it over, she discovered scratches on his hand and upper arm, tiny beads of blood oozing forth. Zhao Gang finally broke the silence. "Miss Zheng, there is some medicine here. Could you please apply it to Director Xiao?" Those words detonated in Nan Yi's mind, as she realized she had been oblivious to such details. Her eyes brimmed with tears, the sight before her blurring. Such minor injuries were routine in her clinical practice, yet she approached this task with utmost care. Xiao Jinghua teased, "It's just a scraped surface. Is it worth shedding tears over?" Nan Yi lifted her gaze, her eyes glistening with unshed tears, and replied, "What age are we in? What status do you hold? Engaging in such reckless behavior?" Xiao Jinghua chuckled lightly. "Some matters are better resolved through traditional means." Then, with a playful smirk, he added, "If I were to fail and be locked away for 10 years, you should quickly find a good man to marry." Nani gazed with her doe-like eyes, retorting sharply, "Be quiet. Your words hold no weight." She meticulously sanitized her hands. His gaze fell upon the fluffy whirl atop Nani's head, and with a gentle smile, he mischievously inquired, "Honestly, you need not wait for me." Nani did not lift her head, her voice drifting softly, "Not just 10 years, but even 20 years, I will wait for you." Xiao Jinghua pondered for a moment, then silently leaned in to embrace her on his lap. Nani nestled against him, her body stiffening as she furtively glanced at Xiao Gang, who remained utterly still. The car descended into the underground garage, and Xiao Gang quietly exited, leaving an unusual silence within the vehicle as the light dimmed. Xiao Jinghua asked, "Do you know who my fund's client is?" Nani froze, her mind racing. Was this a bequest? Panic washed over her. With a chuckle, Xiao Jinghua continued, "You must know my bank card's password, right?" The redness in Nani's eyes spread, and she struggled to contain her emotions, staring at him as she stammered, "Xiao Jinghua, what on earth has happened to you?" Nani pressed urgently, her brow furrowed, while Xiao Jinghua quietly laughed, his mirth deepening. "You must at least know who my personal property attorney is." Unable to hold back any longer, Nani burst into tears, disregarding her injuries, wrapping her arms around his neck. Sobbing uncontrollably, her words becoming indistinct, "I want nothing. I would exchange all this money for your swift return." Xiao Jinghua never anticipated that his jest would evoke such tears from her. His smile gradually faded as he tenderly caressed her back, whispering softly in her ear, "I was just teasing. How could I bear to leave you behind?" The young girl was lost in her own imaginings, completely disbelieving, thinking Xiao Jinghua was merely feigning excuses. She tightened her grip around him, burying her face in the crook of his neck, sobbing like a heartbroken child. With her voice muffled, she asked, "What have you done to Xinjiang?" Xiao Jinghua's handling of Xinjiang had taken merely 10 minutes, swift and purposeful. Yet now, to console the young girl, it took him far longer, leaving him tongue-tied in his explanations. He grasped Nani's chin, turning her face toward him. Her tear-streaked visage was flushed, her body trembling. Seeing her in such distress, Xiao Jinghua felt a pang of regret, tenderly murmuring, "All right, I admit, my words were careless." Nani repeatedly sought confirmation, gauging the truth behind his words, and only when she realized it was a jest did her heart finally find peace. However, upon realizing he had jested about such matters, she angrily attempted to push the door open to exit the car, but Xiao Jinghua pulled her back, his eyes gleaming like onyx, sparkling and filled with laughter as he said, "What I mentioned earlier is something you must still understand, just in case." Nani rolled her eyes at him, thinking him addicted to this jest about bequeathing. The car was enveloped in an unusual tranquility, their breaths heavy, and the atmosphere had turned subtly intimate. Nani idly fiddled with the 2 buttons of his collar, her cheeks gradually flushing, and she fell silent. At some point, the man embracing her exhibited a noticeable reaction. In the dimly lit underground garage, the overhead lights had long since